and then out crawls a masked man from underneath the ring. And according to Skeens, he's got Seth Rollins' hips, and his hips don't lie.
He did. As soon as I saw the way the final masked man was walking, I was like, okay, that's it.
When I first started this podcast, I had a vision, and that vision was not including Seth Rollins, to be clear. And, you know, as much as I love Seth, I feel like if I had included him...
We better walk out of here gingerly.
That's the whole point, right? Welcome to the Lariat Lounge. This is the home of smart takes, hard hits, and real talk. I'm your host, Everson Godfrey, co-host Andrew Skeens. Skeener, something is different. I don't know if I've been cursed. I don't know if we have ended up in some parallel dimension, but this is different. The Lariat Lounge is no longer live. The Lariat Lounge is just here. Remind me to change that bumper up there because it says live now and it shouldn't. But it'll say the Lariat Lounge because this is where you catch us now, folks. We are everywhere now. We are literally everywhere. We're everywhere you listen. We're everywhere you watch. YouTube is literally everywhere. So like, that's just what we do now. We are just in your living rooms. I hope you're ready to see more and more of Skeens and I's beautiful faces because this is what we're doing now. So
I don't know if they're seeing your beautiful face, to be honest.
This is how I always look.
Okay, well.
This is how I always look. What you've been seeing before was a filter.
Okay.
I have to admit.
We're retconning your face out. Okay.
I've been using a filter this entire time. No, seriously. Dude, I've just been enjoying the mask. I bought another one last night. And it should get here April 4th, which I hope it's not a joke, but it should get here April 4th, right before I head out to Milwaukee. So that'll be the debut of the next mask for WrestleMania. But hey, man, how are you doing, Skeener? Episode 50 is finally here. We are in video 50 format, man. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm sure some people may be seeing us for the first time watching this episode. Some people have joined us on the live streams and seen us before. Some people, fortunately or unfortunately, have seen us in person before. But yeah, it's as Triple H would say, it is the dawning of a new era here at the Lariat Lounge.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. And listen, I could not be more excited. I have literally been working on this all day. And when I first started this podcast, I had a vision, and that vision was not including Seth Rollins, to be clear. You know, as much as I love Seth, I feel like if I had included him...
We better walk out of here gingerly if this was a vision.
That's the whole point, right? Is that had I included him or any of the original members of the vision, we might be in some trouble. But I had a vision, and that vision was to start this podcast. The vision was to start the podcast with you. We got that under the belt, right? Then the vision was, okay, let's land 10 episodes. And we had Mike and BG on to celebrate those 10. That was fun. Then the next goal was, okay, let's keep going. When we hit 50, we're going to do something different. At the time, I had no idea what that was going to be. It was just, we're going to do something, and when we get there, we'll figure it out. And as we got closer and closer, our brains, yours and mine, were apparently in sync because we kind of came to each other at the same time with the same idea of what to do next. And so we're here. So now we're here.
I can't believe it's been 40 episodes since Mike and BG joined us.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. It's been 40 shows, 40 weeks since then.
Yeah, and when you think about it, when you put it like that, yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. But I don't even remember what month that was in, but I mentioned that to Mike and BG last night. They did Mark Madness.
Which I hate teams. I tried for 2 hours to get into that thing, and teams sucks.
Do you know what? Honestly, I had zero problems getting into that thing.
This has been the third one I haven't been able to join because I can't get in the Teams call.
I am going to help you figure this out once we get done with this. The next one they do. Because the next one they're doing...
Move to Discord is what we need to do.
I tried to get Donnie on Discord.
I've tried to. So
I think he tried it once, and he said it sucked. and he went to Microsoft Teams. But the next one they're doing is, I think it's a bracket for the greatest video game character of all time.
Yeah, I need to be there for that.
You need to be there for that one. You need to be there. You should have been there for this one because we did the Mark Madness, right? And AJ Styles,
Wrestler of the Year.
AJ Styles won on pure agenda.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have. Yeah, that
on pure.
I wouldn't have, or I would have tried my best to not let that happen.
Big shout out to AJ Styles. You know what I'm saying? Like, great year, and he's retired now, and they did from Mania to Mania, so he had a great year. But there were people who had a better year. But listen, you get on there with the call with the guys, and agendas are afoot. The fact that Penta was not on the bracket at all, but Jack Perry was, agenda.
Yeah, I feel like Penta should have been eligible there.
I feel like he should have been eligible there. But, hey, listen, I don't make those rules. I just show up when I can, and I had a great time with the fellas, but we got to get you set up for the next one. But listen, I'm glad you all are here. Skeener's doing great. I'm doing great. I'm pumped for this new version of the Lariat Lounge. You're going to get the podcast wherever you normally get it. But hey, listen, you're here. Skeener, please let everyone know about the new and improved Lariat Lounge 2.0 and where they can find us.
Hey, we are now in video format. You can find us on YouTube. Search up the Lariat Lounge. You'll find us. That's where the podcast is going to be going up in video form, and where you'll catch our live streams now. So everything will be on that one channel. You can just search the Lariat Lounge on YouTube. The podcast in audio format is staying, if you're still listening to us there, wherever you're getting it once a week, every week. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you get your shows, we're there. We're over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge Podcast. Hopefully you'll be seeing some video clips up there soon, maybe some other social media here in the near future. But as always, if you're as old school as it can get on the internet, please feel free to send us an email at thelariatlounge@gmail.com.
Listen, the Lariat Lounge email account over on Gmail, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it's a freaking wasteland. Okay, I need you to.
We got Gage. We got our guy Gage hopped in there.
Gage is the only fan email that is sitting in that account. It is now starting to get littered with receipts for Lucha Mask, and I need something else to go in there as well. But hey, listen, however you guys want to chime in, whether it's via the socials, whether it's in the comment section now, because we will have one of those. So do all the YouTube things now, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all those things.
Excited to see if we can get some comments. Hopefully it's a little easier to do if you're watching or listening to the show on YouTube. We say something you like, you don't like, you want to chime in. Hey, just leave a comment. We'll respond to them. We'll talk about them on the next show. If you all want to get involved, we will involve you.
We will involve you. And listen, everybody got YouTube. Listen, if you wanted to listen to a pro wrestling podcast, you were already in that space, and you were already in the space of listening to podcasts. You know what I mean? You're probably a current purveyor of Spotify or podcasts on Apple or anywhere else you would listen to podcasts. But everybody's got YouTube. So I'm hoping that we will be able to drum in a new consortium of listeners who are coming to the Lariat Lounge to ingest what it is that we are putting out into the wrestling ethos. So I'm glad you all are here. Wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, on your phone, on your laptop, on your television, the fact that we're in your living rooms now, it makes my heart sing. Leave us a like wherever it is that you're consuming the Lariat Lounge. It is a small thing for you. It's free, but for us, it genuinely means the world. So we really, really do appreciate it. But for the very first time in video format, folks, enough with the fluff. Let's get to the stuff. Skeener, Elimination Chamber is in the books. I'm looking at the breakdown right now, and we have our Elimination Chamber winners. Before we go into any of the card, Rhea Ripley is the winner of the women's Elimination Chamber. Randy is the winner of the men's chamber. I feel like this is probably going to be the easiest of the things on the card to discuss and with regards to Monday Night Raw. So we might as well start there. But first, I want your general thoughts on the winners of the chambers and what that could look like for WrestleMania and who their opponents are.
I was pretty happy with who we got as winners. To start with the women's chamber, I thought Tiffany was gonna win, and I think a lot of people also thought that way. And I was worried that would get a less than positive and glowing reaction. So I'm glad they didn't go that way. Not because I dislike Tiffany, but just for, things are better in wrestling when the audience is happy, and they don't always have to be, but sometimes the vocal fans can be downers, essentially. And I'm glad we didn't have to deal with that. And I think Rhea and Jade is a super interesting match. We haven't gotten it before. Two big stars. Obviously, one of them's probably the biggest women's star they have right now, or at least 1A, and one of the most popular stars in the company overall. So getting Rhea in that title match makes sense. Interested to see what they're going to do with the build. They're seemingly we wondered what was going to happen. She's going to be on SmackDown now. She said her goodbyes to Io this past Monday on Raw, seemingly. So we'll see Rhea on SmackDown here this Friday. So yeah. I think that's a good move. I think that's interesting. I think they've already been doing some working on social media, seemingly. It's debatable, I guess. I thought it was pretty clear that it is a work, but yeah, there were some Twitter shots sent back and forth between Rhea and Jade, which I think has been a good start to the feud. I'll fill you in on that in a little bit. But
hold on. Let me ask you something. Yeah. Does anybody think that was real? I mean, I didn't see any of it, but the way you said that. Okay, so people are taking it like there's some real animosity between the two of them?
Absolutely.
Oh, come on.
Absolutely. Yeah, Rhea, and it's because Rhea posted something that said, we're not friends. I'm not having fun. This is serious. And everyone's like, see, it's real. But
yeah. I guess because somebody said something on the internet, it must be true. That is the age-old adage. Dude, I thought that Rhea Ripley was my pick for the chamber, and it was legitimately a process for me of logical elimination. There were some people who I did not want to win the chamber. I did not want Tiffany Stratton to win the chamber. I thought that she has maybe an opportunity to build herself up in a way that the fans can really get behind again, if they ever really were. To me, it's debatable whether or not the fans were behind her the way some may remember her as. But suffice it to say, I thought that Raquel was originally going to be my pick, but you laid out something last week that I think made me change my mind. And Rhea seemed like it was going to make the most sense, particularly because her and Io had just dropped the tag titles.
Yeah, when we made our predictions on the show, that had not happened yet.
So they hadn't lost the titles yet.
That was, I think, a pretty big giveaway that, Rhea is now a serious contender to win that match.
Oh, yeah. And look, good on them for, going ahead and just making the break clean between Io and Rhea. I mean, we saw the little hug sesh that they had on the stage there. And then we also saw a backstage segment with Io coming out of Adam Pearce's office in line for the number one contender spot for the Intercontinental Championship. So they're going to have is it a 6-person match?
Yes. Next Monday. We've got a six woman number one contenders match.
So Io is putting herself back out there on the singles scene, and Rhea is going to take on Jade. I think Jade needs a competitor like this. It was interesting being a part of Mark Madness yesterday, because I was able to really get a sense, Skeener, of what other wrestling fans think of certain people. And you can really see that based on, when people weren't playing agendas, how quickly some people dropped out of the bracket. And they did like 64 participants this go round instead of 32. So you had a lot of people in there. And for Jade Cargill being...
Not Penta, though. Not Penta.
Except Penta. No. We had Jack Perry in there, and we had a couple other people that I was just like, at the end of, I think we got into like Sweet 16, and then I was like, hey, where's Penta? Like, how's Penta not in here? But yeah, they did not allow Jade Cargill to get out of the first round. Like, she didn't get out of the first round. And so I think, aside from bias, I think that is very indicative of her title run. And that's what I said to them when we were talking, that I feel like she is a product of how lackluster the offerings of competition have been for her. I think she has grown and evolved a bit more of a personality when she's really being a bad guy. Like, she does well being a heel. Her as face Jade did not work quite as well. And being a heel, I think she's really able to kind of lean into her bag, but she's only been, put up against Meechin, B-Fab, and Jordan Grace. Her entire...
And you still mourn that we didn't get the Meechin Jade match too.
I think mourn is a strong word.
That was on your 2025 most anticipated matches, if I recall.
If it was on that list, it was because Jade needed it. She needs body count. Like, she needs something. That was the only thing, in my opinion, that really saved Tiffany Stratton's title run at all, was that she at least had competition. And Jade just did not seem to have that at all. So this is a huge jump. I mean, Jordan Grace is no slouch. And when she got paired with Jordan Grace with their little feud, I thought that it was good because she needed an escalation. And now she's got a huge escalation because there's no one coming out of that chamber match that is bigger than Rhea Ripley. Sorry, not sorry. If you disagree with that, I just don't think you probably watch WWE, because she's the hottest thing that the product has, and it's really been kind of touting for the last year. And so to put her against Jade, you've got a little over 4 weeks now left to build this thing out. So they've got time, and she's headed directly over to SmackDown. So we're going to get some head-to-head confrontations. That was, in my opinion, the best outcome for the women's chamber match. But shout out to what is her name?
Kiana James.
Yes. Thank you. Shout out to Kiana James, because she had a stellar showing, in my opinion, in the chamber, bro. Like, I think she had a really good show.
Very much so.
I think she absolutely did. Who went through the cells?
Did we have multiple people?
So one of the girls got thrown through the cells. Like, she went through one side and out the other. I can't remember who that was.
Was that? I thought it was Logan that went through one side and out the other.
Maybe it was Logan. One of the girls went through a cell too.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think the like through the corner, that was Logan later. But yeah, they were using those pods for sure.
Yeah, they were. So it wasn't Asuka, it wasn't Bliss, it wasn't Kiana James, it wasn't Tiffany. Was it Tiffany? Because it certainly wasn't Raquel.
It wasn't Rhea. I honestly do not remember.
It might have been Tiffany. I think it might have been Tiffany, because it wasn't any of the other five. I know it wasn't Rhea, and it wasn't Raquel, it wasn't Kiana, it wasn't Bliss, and it wasn't Asuka. I think it was Tiffany. Hey, look, big up for her for taking that spot. I know that those plexis are breakaway so that they can do those spots, but still, I mean, you got to make it look good. And so,
And how about them letting Raquel stack Kiana and Asuka to eliminate him?
So
like
first of all,
chief out there.
I love that. I am a huge fan of Raquel. And so the more you give her, the happier I get. And I really would love to see her with some gold around her waist in 2026, singles gold. But no, dude, I loved it. I genuinely loved it. I felt in the moment slightly bad for Asuka because Asuka has had a really great year, and to kind of get, double stacked like that and pinned summarily by Raquel. I mean, it was a great story beat. So I didn't think that it put her in an enviable position. But in the moment, I was kind of like, oh, dang, Asuka. But I think it was in service of a great story. And, who knows?
I didn't think anyone came out of the match looking particularly bad or like an afterthought.
No.
I mean, if you're going to say anyone, like I remember the least probably of what Alexa Bliss did, but
agreed.
I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing. She did get to do Twisted Bliss off one of the pods, and then she got hit with the mist from Asuka.
Yes.
So that yeah, I mean, I thought the match itself was good. I liked the ending. I loved them letting Raquel look good. So I think everything went really well. I thought it was a good match, good ending. We're coming out of it in a good, interesting spot. But yeah, I'm surprised you did not see the Jade and Rhea stuff to start this feud on social media.
Nah, brother, I don't be on socials like that.
Yeah, okay. So it started over on Twitter, or X, as some of the kids would say, which I will probably never move to calling it that. It will always be Twitter to me. But so basically it starts out, they go back and forth. Rhea tells her, all you do is talk, and then Jade responded, talk? Like the hours you spend talking to creative. And then Rhea comes back and says, I have that tweet up. You're funny. That's funny. Now we know you really do be talking out of your ass because everything you say is bullshit. Don't spread lies on my name, you dumb bee. Which, just like Joe Tessitore, I think it's a dead giveaway that this is a work if you call someone a bee.
Oh, I was literally about to ask you. So it says bee.
It says you dumb bee. The B is capitalized.
So okay, just to recap real quick. So she said shit, but she can't say bitch.
She said bullshit and then said, yes, you dumb bee.
Okay. You know what? They must have a B quota.
I know. And then what got people talking was Rhea posted on her Instagram story. It was just a black screen with white text that said, not having fun, not friends, learn to work and never lie to defame someone's real human character by breaking the fourth wall. And people are like, oh, this is real. And look, maybe it is. I have certainly thought in the past that things were works that ended up not being, but this seems like a big work to me. What
breaking the fourth wall are we talking about here?
Saying creative, I guess.
Oh, Gotcha.
As if there's not a show called WWE Unreal that they reference and they don't say this stuff all the time. But
what show are you talking about, Skeener? Apparently it doesn't exist. We have no idea what that world is like.
I'm sure this may be on a future season. So, but yeah, people were up in arms, and whether it was a work or not, it has fantastically worked to get a lot of people talking. A lot of people hating on Jade, which I think is the point in all this as the heel to get her some heat. A lot of people going a little far, as the kids would say, maybe going a little mask off on their Jade hate, but that's neither here nor there. That's kind of par for the course with internet wrestling fans. But yeah, we'll see on Friday when Rhea gets to SmackDown to see Jade face to face, as she said.
Listen, there are some really polarized fans, right? There are some real polarized fans who, they feel the way they feel about a situation regardless of how anyone may explain logic or reason to them with regards to the fact that, hey, you realize Unreal exists, right? You realize this is probably going through creative, since we use this word, right? This has probably gone through creative and they're okay with it. There are some people who are just really polarized in their positions, and there are some people who just really, I won't say that they take wrestling seriously, but they definitely operate within a space in wrestling that, at least for me, is a little more of an emotional space than I operate from wrestling with. You know, I enjoy the entertainment. I enjoy the product, and I love getting enriched stories, but I don't get emotionally tethered to characters and story beats and things like that. So I watch it like I watch a movie or a television show that's written really well. And there are some people who are just going to not like Jade. There's some people who are just going to not ever find a reason to dislike Rhea. And they're going to think that everything that goes on the internet has to have some shred of reality to it. And because that shred may really exist, they can't possibly be working us. They can't possibly be utilizing this for a storyline. It's got to be real. I've got the pull for my person. Listen, we will definitely get to that when we talk about Raw. Because, brother, when it comes to the Punk Roman stuff, I have thoughts. But yeah, listen, congratulations to Rhea Ripley for winning the chamber. She's going to challenge Jade at WrestleMania. Who knows what the outcome of that is going to be? This is way too early for predictions because this feud has only gotten started via X. So we'll have to see how this plays out, what the energy looks like moving forward with this one. We'll definitely be getting more interactions between those two than we will with the Punk Roman stuff. So yeah, jumping right into the next chamber winner, which is Randy Orton. Now, this match, scroll down and take a look at our participants. Logan Paul, LA Knight, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Logan Paul. Now, Randy Orton is your winner. Logan Paul goes on an Elimination World Tour. He's eliminating Trick, boo. He's eliminating LA Knight. He's eliminating Javon Evans. And wait, who's one more person he eliminated?
No, that was it.
Oh yeah, him included, right? Because then there's Randy.
Yeah,
and
it went Javon, LA Knight, Trick Williams, but yeah, he eliminated those three.
Okay, right. Because there's only 6 people in the chamber, so it's him and Cody and
someone can't be eliminated. Someone has to win.
So he goes on this Elimination World Tour, eliminating my favorite, the person I wanted to win, eliminating your favorite, the person you wanted to win, eliminating Javon. This was
who some people wanted to win. I'm sure
some people probably wanted to win. This was obviously by design because Logan was not intended to be the person in the chamber. That was not supposed to be the deal. But I feel like at least at this point, the Vision story is probably as on track as it has been in months. So, great that
I don't know. I would say before. I mean, Braun Breaker getting hurt kind of threw it off. Because I think, obviously, now we see that they had a timetable where Seth was probably comfortably going to make it back.
Sure.
Considering we're still, 6 weeks? A little over 6 weeks from WrestleMania, and he's back. So I think Braun Breaker, who still may be back in time for WrestleMania, we're pretty on track until then. And then I think Breaker really threw it off, and then they threw something together, and then Bronson Reed gets hurt, and then they're really scrambling. But I think you're right. I think we kind of got it back on track a little bit.
I mean, I'm wondering how, with all of the derailments, which I just had a harebrained idea, but with all the derailments, I feel like with Seth back in the picture, I genuinely feel like Logan was probably not supposed to be the person that was in the chamber, right? And that some audibles were called because people were getting hurt. And then I think it was very visible when Bronson Reed got hurt that there was an audible that was called there because it looked in the ring like obviously they were making some plays on the field because you don't want to get anyone hurt further than what they already are. So there were some calls that were being made in the ring. But Jey Uso was originally in the Rumble. And then all of a sudden, Jey gets taken out and is not able to compete in the Rumble, yet he comes back on Monday. So it seems like that was a play that was called because they had to make a call in the moment and they needed to get to where they were trying to get to in the Elimination Chamber. And they had to make a pivot like last second. So I feel like even though Logan was probably not supposed to be the person that was in the chamber, the goal was to have a person from the Vision in the chamber so that Seth could come in, cause them this chamber victory, and unveil himself as being the person who is in the mask. And obviously these decisions were also predicated off of other audibles that were called, right? Because I think that obviously nobody was suspecting that Seth was going to hurt himself in the match where he hurt himself. But then I think no one was suspecting that Braun was going to hurt himself. So they had to make some pivots. And then Bronson hurt himself, right? So whatever it was that they were trying to accomplish had to at least hinge somewhat on the chamber playing out a particular way. And the fact simply that no one got hurt, low bar,
I know. I was going to think this is the first show we've done in 3 or 4 weeks where we didn't have to talk about an unfortunate injury.
Yeah, no injury report. So, listen, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a very low bar. The fact that no one got hurt means that at least they are on track. And that's a better place than they've been for the last 3 weeks, at least. So he does this Elimination World Tour. He eliminates some of our favorites.
So do we think that if no Braun Breaker injury happens, do we think he is in the Logan Paul spot and Seth costs him that spot there? Because I think that would make sense.
If we are to believe that Braun Breaker injured himself flipping the announce table, if that is the true story, then that happened after the Royal Rumble, meaning that the run-in segment at the beginning of the Royal Rumble was initially fully part of the plan. If that was initially fully part of the plan, yeah, I think he was supposed to have the mask figure cost him his opportunity to get to WrestleMania via the Rumble. And then the plan was to get Braun Breaker into the Elimination Chamber, right? And he was probably going to be the person in the chamber, and Seth was going to come and cost him that. And then you get to maybe Seth versus Breaker at Mania. But, if Breaker and Bronson are actually hurt, then I guess you're stuck with Seth and Logan possibly at Mania?
I still think Bronson may be back. I mean, you could do that, but I'm not sure. Are they really going to do Seth versus Logan?
I mean, listen, if there's no one else left, what else do you do? I'm not advocating for it, but I am saying that if these injuries are legitimate, right? If they're legitimate and Breaker and Reed are out indefinitely, you've just brought Seth back and he's just cost Logan his opportunity to go to WrestleMania. You got to follow that up. I would think that wouldn't be a loose thread that you would kind of sew in weeks before Mania and then just kind of let it dangle, particularly if Seth has nothing to do and Logan has nothing to do. So I feel like you could go that route, but I'm also wondering if, and listen, I'm not trying to put this out here because people could legitimately be hurt, but when Seth got kayfabe hurt last year, we did quite a bit of speculating on whether or not these injuries were legitimate based on things that we are currently not judging. And I think we're currently not judging them because it almost feels like we just did this last year. Why would we be doing this again storyline wise? And so it makes more sense that these things are probably legitimate. But I haven't heard anything from WWE outside of the commentators talking about Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker and their injuries and out indefinitely. This is the same verbiage, the same language that they used for Seth last year with his kayfabe injury. And I don't know how you would work a story like this, except for, the bad guy in this situation being Paul Heyman in some way. And that Seth was, doing this to screw over Paul. But, I'm not going to jump off of the ship into those waters because...
Yeah, we'll have to see where they go. I'm not sure. I'm not counting out right now, and maybe it's wishful thinking, that Braun Breaker is back by WrestleMania.
I would love to see it. I would love to see it.
So flipping that announce table, that was early February. WrestleMania is mid-April. That's on the low end of the recovery timetable from the surgery, but certainly possible. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm holding out hope. But
It's possible.
we'll have to see. I mean, so what we got Monday, I thought was great with Seth delivering some, or maybe it was just one, but a stiff chair shot to Paul Heyman and a stomp.
Yep.
And kind of basking in the cheers before heading off. Seems like Seth still has his army of masked men that he can deploy at any moment. So
that goon squad.
Interesting. Yeah. He just has them appear out of nowhere to distract and confuse and conflate and all that.
Oh yeah. Look, he bloodied up Paul.
He did.
He bloodied up Paul. And
sent Paul to the local medical facility.
Well, listen,
maybe
that's where he was supposed to go.
I don't know. Yeah,
the driver didn't seem like he was taking him to a local medical facility. Which, by the way, folks, it was LA Knight driving the hospital. Driving the ambulance. That. And when Logan went to go get the car, listen, what happened to Logan Paul? So Logan Paul ran off to get the car. The car comes around and Jimmy Uso hops out, whoops up on Austin Theory real quick. And then we see that LA Knight is driving the ambulance that has Paul Heyman in the back. So, I mean, listen, we are getting a collection of individuals who have been wronged by the Vision. Mm-hmm. Do we do a multi-man? I mean, that can only work if the Vision members are...
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if
healthy.
there are enough men to do that.
I don't think there is.
Because it's just a tag team, and you've got Jey Uso, you got the Usos, you got LA Knight, you got Seth. Unless it's a big old handicap match where they beat up Austin Theory and Logan Paul, which I don't think they'll do. Yeah, I don't think you can go that way because you don't have enough men's for that multi-man match.
What is Jey doing right now?
I don't know.
I mean, he's part of the tag champ with Jimmy.
Exactly like we were worried about, or at least I was worried about for the longest time, is we just kind of gave up on conflicted Jey that's not sure of himself, not sure if he can get back to the top, gonna do anything to get back there. No, we just kind of went back and forgot about that, at least for the time being, seemingly. So I don't know what Jay's doing.
Yeah, and listen, I don't know what you do with everyone else. Like, I don't know what you do with LA Knight. I don't know what you do with Jimmy and Jey. I mean, they're the tag champs. So I feel like they're going to obviously be on the WrestleMania card, defending against someone. It's just a matter of who.
Well, you lost, for the time being, you lost two major players in the card in Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. So
true.
I don't know. But even then, even if you say you have them, like, what are these people doing? What are the Usos doing? What's LA Knight doing? What's Logan Paul doing? What's Austin Theory doing heading into WrestleMania? That's kind of some of the big questions we got to answer on Raw, I think.
This is true. And
we've got time. We've got, I think, 6 more shows. So we'll figure it out. That's a longer build than it seems, just because WrestleMania is a little later in the calendar than we got accustomed to for the longest time. Got 2-3 extra weeks in there, so we've got time to figure it out. But currently, I have no auspices on what any of those folks will be doing come WrestleMania.
Auspices, I like that word. I'm gonna.
I mean, Seth included, too. So if we lay it out, you got, in terms of what I would say are major players on that Raw roster, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, LA Knight, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, anyone else I'm forgetting, but that's 6 like major names. We don't know what the heck they're doing for WrestleMania.
I mean, that's true. I don't know, man. And listen, all of this right now screams Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Oh, come on. I don't
screams
think that.
Big gold trophy. Like these are the decisions that WWE makes typically when they don't know what to do with people. They just throw them in multi-mans. And
did we even have We didn't. I mean, the battle.
We didn't
I
have
don't
one
think the
last year.
battle royal is not coming back on the WrestleMania card.
All we can do is hope, man. We haven't seen one since what?
Now, if
39?
you bring back the gimmick battle royal for Saudi Mania, I'm in.
Wait, like you mean like the greatest Royal Rumble?
No, the like WrestleMania 17, where they had all the old timers with their gimmicks come out and hobble to the ring. Between ages 60 and 70.
Fam.
I'm in.
Nah. You can keep that. That's what I feel like.
You don't want to see Hacksaw come out there?
No.
And give us one more.
I feel like that's what the Saudi princes asked for. I feel like they asked for, I want Yokozuna, I want Bam Bam Bigelow, I want the British Bulldog, I want both the Road Warriors.
If you were ill-informed, isn't that something you would want as well?
No.
Well.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Give me Trick Williams. That's what I want. Let's talk about it.
So yeah. There's another name. We don't know what's going on.
Listen, if there's one thing I'm sure of, is that Trick will be all right. They'll find something to do with Trick.
That's what I was going to say, because they know they've got a star on their hands.
Absolutely know that they've got a star with him. They will figure something out for him. So I'm not worried about Trick. What I am worried about is LA Knight.
Yeah, I would be more worried about LA Knight and Jey Uso than I am about Trick.
Oh, I mean, look, certainly Jey Uso. There's a legitimate reason for a Jey Uso fan to be concerned at this point in the year, because he is tag champs and they have not been building a tag feud with anyone. The only thing I could see them doing, right, is the New Day, because the New Day have been the only tag team that have been being built up separately from the championship and having their own thing, right? And that feud is kind of built
You're right. I think we have other tag teams, but like, what's your Raw tag team division? The Usos as champs, the New Day. I guess you say Tozawa and
I was about
Otis,
to say American Alpha,
who just lost. The Viking Raiders.
Yeah,
or the War. We're War Raiders again. Sorry, I always forget. We went back. War Raiders, and then I guess you include Rio and Bravo.
I mean, you could.
There you go.
Technically,
there's your tag team division.
Boy, that tag team division is garbage. But the tag team division, man, has been suffering for a while. They've been suffering for a while, and
it really may be worse than it's ever been. I'm sure there's been times where it has been worse, but it feels really, really bad right now.
It does. It feels genuinely bad. It just feels like that the tag team division is a little naked, and there's just not enough bodies there to consistently. I mean, we've been saying this for a while.
Well, we got 47 MFTs and 50 Wyatts on SmackDown. That's your tag team division.
All you need is one set of tag titles.
Yeah, it's really seeming like that right now.
You really just need one set of tag titles. It doesn't seem like WWE is really invested in fixing their tag team problem. Even if you had one
set right now, I don't know if you'd have enough teams to really call it a division. Because, I mean, I know we named like some of those teams, but who would you consider serious tag teams if they combined them? Usos, New Day, the Wyatts, and the MFTs?
You've got Fraxium.
Okay.
You've got Fraxium. I would consider them tag team. You've got the War Raiders, the Motor City Machine Guns. You've got the War Raiders. I mean, I don't care about some of these tag teams.
You've already said the War Raiders twice to get to 8. So
okay,
listen. So we're struggling.
But look, if you had 7 tag teams, right, and you count them as one person, obviously, right, or as one team, so it's just one entry in the tag team division. That is more people than you have at any point going at your main line titles. So if you allow them to circulate amongst each other, right, then you'd be good to go. I mean, how many people do you legitimately have in the World Heavyweight Championship picture? Legitimate.
I mean, you have 2 right now. I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, we've got more people in the tag team division if you just combine them. But the fact that you have them separated just means, and on separate shows too, My God.
But I don't even know if that's the answer, because just combining them doesn't make it interesting. Doesn't make any of the stuff interesting.
I would be more interested in Fraxium if they were going head to head against the Usos. But as you currently have it,
that's a low bar. What is your current interest level in Fraxium?
Dude, I mean, I'm just saying, my current interest level in Fraxium doesn't exceed the backstage segments that they're currently stuck in, because the last time we saw them really active in the ring in real tag team competition, Tommaso Ciampa was still with the company, and the freaking Wyatt Six still had the titles. So, like, that's the last time we've really gotten them in action as a tag team, right? We've gotten Axiom, we've gotten Nathan Frazier in U.S. title stuff, but they can't continue to put them in the title picture because they put so much emphasis on the champions who are holding the belts on either show and who is currently challenging them for them, and not what else is going on in the tag team division unless it's a backstage segment, because they only have enough room on the show, a 3-hour show apparently on SmackDown, for like one tag team match. So, you know, the only thing I can really think of is that if you combine the tag team division and you spread their competition over 2 shows, we may be able to get 2 tag team matches a week. And if you had 2 tag team matches a week that did not contain the champions, right, and you didn't do a bunch of repeat matches over and over again, we could get some interesting combinations to the point where when you do have a number 1 contender challenging a team like the Usos, and let's say if we picked a tag team to keep the titles, right, to unify the 2 titles, it was the Usos. I could get behind watching a match where Fraxium have fought their way into a number 1 contender spot to challenge arguably the greatest tag team in WWE history, and to see what Nathan Frazier and Axiom can do on that kind of stage. I feel like that's really what the tag team division is lacking. You could do something with the tag team that I don't really particularly care for, like the War Raiders, if you really put them in a position to where them holding the tag team championships actually meant something. Because they held those titles for so long, but because the tag team divisions were so watered down, it didn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't really mean anything. And you had the same problem with interesting tag teams back in the...
I don't think they mean anything now. Like,
oh, you talking about the tag titles?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying they do.
Yeah. What do they mean right now?
I'm not saying they do. I'm saying that they could mean something if you combine them, because we had a similar problem with tag teams back in the golden era of tag teams. People just tend to remember the Rockers, and they tend to remember the Hart Foundation, right? But outside of the Rockers, outside of the Hart Foundation, outside of LOD, right? Who did you really have? Honestly, like, you had a bunch of tag teams, but like, they weren't the greatest tag teams either. But you had one set of titles, right? And you had all the tag teams vying for them. And so the placeholders, the mid-card teams, the people who were there as enhancement for the tag teams you were trying to get over, you had at least enough of them to where you could have the tag team that you're trying to get over climb the ranks, right? And challenge a team like LOD, who was holding the tag championships for God knows how long, or the Hart Foundation, who are holding the tag championships for God knows how long, right? So when you topple one of them, it seems like a big deal. But, you know, we can go on and on all day about the tag team division and what WWE is not going to do, because,
yeah,
you know, they're certainly not talking in the writer's room about, hey, you know what we really need to focus on right now? The tag team division. Because we've got to figure out how to try and keep Cody Rhodes in the spotlight. We've got to try and figure out our main event or one of our championship matches for WrestleMania, because we haven't even finished the men's chamber, right? We got Orton, we got Logan, we got Cody in the chamber. The Mask Man Militia shows up, right? Triple M shows up to the arena. That is Seth's actual faction, okay? They're functioning, they're healthy, and they show up in droves, right? And they come to the ring and they take the attention of this person, and they take the attention of that person, and they get all the officials to leave ringside and leave the gate open, and then out crawls a masked man from underneath the ring. And according to Skeens, he's got Seth Rollins' hips, and his hips don't lie.
He did. As soon as I saw the way the way the final masked man was walking, I was like, okay, that's Seth.
He does have a walk.
Know that.
He does have a walk. So Seth Rollins.
This is definitely the first time it's been Seth.
I agree. I agree. It's definitely been the first time that it was Seth. Seth Rollins comes into the ring. He performs a very nice curb stomp on one Logan Paul, and then he exits the ring after he unmasks himself. And I guess because the chamber door was left open for longer than 1 minute, it cannot close again. I didn't realize that was the thing that the chamber did. But apparently, if it's open for longer...
Nobody there to close it. Nobody there with authority to close it. You know,
no
it's
one
like
there with authority to close it.
I think it may be like a weird, union thing. Like certain people aren't allowed to, like a camera guy just can't be closing the door because that is the referee's jurisdiction.
Right. And yes, the extra referees that are around the ring, if they leave, nobody has the credentials to touch the door.
Right.
So it has to stay open.
Class. You got to be certified.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have certifications to close the door. Need clearance.
It's a big door. Don't want to get fingers caught in there or anything like that.
I imagine that's why they need clearance, right? Because there's probably some training that comes with that.
Remember the time Seth almost got impaled by that cage spike? That's what happens when...
Hey, look, it happened to Naomi when Jade came back. You see what happens when untrained hands put their hands on that door. People get hurt. Skeena, people get hurt. And so, they just decide to leave it open for safety reasons, of course. And this leaves the door wide open, literally, for Drew McIntyre to show up again. And he whacks. Who's he hit with the belt? Is it Logan?
Cody. Okay, was it?
I don't... Did he? I think he came in and tried to hit Cody because I feel like Drew got an RKO.
I think he ended up getting both of them.
Well, did he? Because Drew...
Yeah, Drew ended up, or maybe he didn't, and it was just Cody and Orton fought him, and then...
That's what happened. Because I feel like when Seth curb stomped Logan, did somebody pin him immediately? Because I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like, and I could be wrong here, but I feel like Seth came in, curb stomped Logan, and then he left. And then Drew came in. He hit somebody with that belt. I'm thinking it was Logan. And then he tried to hit Cody or Randy. Randy hits him with an RKO. He falls right into a crossroads. And then as soon as Cody gets up from the crossroads, Randy... No, that's not right. Because Randy won off the pin.
This is why we don't recap the blow by blows on the...
This is why we don't do it.
On this podcast, because we admittedly kind of forget sometimes.
Very true. Very, very true. But Logan had to have gotten pinned. He had to have gotten pinned before that interaction happened because...
Yeah, Orton pinned him.
Okay, so Orton pinned him, right? And then here comes Drew. Drew tries to hit Cody or something like that, and then...
I think it was Cody, and I think Cody pinned Logan right after the stomp.
That makes sense. Cody gets up. Here comes Drew. He tries to hit Cody with the belt,
and Cody and
Randy hits him with the Randy
team up on him. Yeah,
with the RKO, and then Cody hits him with the Cody Cutter, and then as soon as Cody gets up from the Cody Cutter, he catches an RKO as well.
Yes, I believe that we have worked our way into what happened.
We have sleuthed our way, folks, back to the conclusion.
Regardless of how we got there step by step, Randy takes advantage of Cody's lack of focus and gets a big Elimination Chamber victory. And for the moment, Randy Orton is going to WrestleMania to challenge Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship.
Hey, he said he was not going to make the same mistake he made before, which was, letting his emotions get in the way of what it is that he needs to do. And so he fully took advantage of that situation. He took Cody out and he punched his ticket to WrestleMania. Like you said, to challenge Drew McIntyre? Because we don't know. Because Nick Aldis...
we've got a championship match.
Makes a championship match between Cody and Drew on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which will surely go off without a hitch.
Absolutely. It will go off without a hitch, except for the fact that I am almost 1,000% sure that Jacob Fatu gets involved here.
If Drew doesn't end it himself, because this is just a straight up for now, like just a singles match. So why would Drew not just get himself disqualified or counted out or something? But yeah, I think we're still headed towards right now the fatal 4-way at WrestleMania. Cody, Drew, Orton, and Jacob.
I think so too.
That seems the most likely to me right now.
I think so too. You just got too many loose ends there that are tied to this to not pull them into this this championship match. The boys and I last night, I honestly, Skeeter, I made it known just a little bit how much I dislike the doofus babyface role that Cody plays, right? And we got talking about it a little bit.
You do dislike it.
And it's just, this whole situation never had to happen. It never had to happen. Cody could be the champion right now, but he chose to be too proud in that moment and put his hands on Jacob instead of, I don't know, getting out of the ring and winning the championship or maintaining the championship because he was champion then. And
yeah, but that's not what he does.
No, he has to be a doofus. And
he's being the honorable hero.
Listen, your honorable hero can also be a doofus. He does not have to be the sharpest tool in the shed in order to be one's hero. And I genuinely think that sometimes when I hear Cody fans, I'm just like, you will just follow this tattooed neck man into the bowels of hell. Even if he told you, hey, I soaked your drawers in gasoline the night before because they smelled awful. Let's go.
Yeah, but at least you get it though. Like, yeah, it's because he does this. He fights for what's right.
Yeah, but he's not fighting for your life. He clearly did not listen to Hogan's theme song well enough because he's leading you to destruction for his own benefit. I don't know, man. Cody he finds himself in the main event way too much. I would like to see Cody do some mid-card stuff. I'd love to see Cody at his stature now do a Becky Lynch, because I genuinely applaud Becky Lynch, like straight up and down, because I feel like she is showing you what being a real superstar looks like. I mean, superstar within the confines of pro wrestling, like a legitimate WWE superstar in all facets of her game, because you do not have to be at the top of the card. You do not have to be top billed, but you are who you are. And everywhere you go, you shine, whether it's the main event picture, whether it's the mid card, right? Your name is big enough now to where it rings bells, despite where, the bell rings for you on the match card. And I think it was just awesome. It was awesome to see her Intercontinental title run. Shout out to AJ Lee, new Intercontinental champion. But I thought it was just great for her to do that. And now she's likely going to return to a feud with AJ Lee at Mania to probably reclaim the Intercontinental Championship. But even if she didn't, she has opened herself up to going back into the main event picture, being missed in that space, right? But not being forgotten because she's been so freaking present in the Intercontinental Championship scene. I would love to see Cody do something like that. He did a little brief stint like that with Jay. What was it, last year?
Yeah,
it was before he won the championship. It was before he won, he finished the story. So it was before Mania 40. So that was between 39 and 40 when he was tagging with Jay. But it worked. I love that. But your thoughts? Randy Orton has won the Chamber. He is currently on schedule to challenge Drew McIntyre, but that is up in the air. It's probably going to be a fatal 4-way. But your thoughts?
I like it. For the same reasons, I think Cody was almost in that Tiffany spot that I talked about earlier. I think some of the fans would have soundly rejected a Cody win. I think Randy was a nice surprise. I'm glad to see Randy in this spot, being involved in the title match at WrestleMania. I think people are really clamoring for, one more Orton title run, and sure. I think there's a good chance right now that he walks out of WrestleMania as the champion. Maybe not, and we'll see how it develops, but right now, if you made me pick, I would slightly lean that Randy Orton wins the title very slightly over Drew retaining. But that's right now. We'll see how it develops. But I'm good. I think we will see some good Randy Orton stuff anytime he's on the show more. I love that. I think we'll get to play on the history with him and Cody a little bit, and the history with him and Drew. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see where they go on Friday.
Yeah,
But
I am too.
To speak to the Cody stuff a little bit, like, I get it. I get that people tire of seeing him up there, just like, people were tired of seeing the John Cena almost, but like, that's just the way it goes. Like, he's one of the top guys. He's going to be around the top. That's how top guys operate. And he'll take a step back from time to time, but then he'll crop back up and be in the scene because he is one of the biggest stars. I am not at the point where seemingly some other people are, where they're tired of seeing Cody around the title.
I just think Cody doesn't give us enough. If I'm being completely honest, I feel like Cody plays Cody and that's all Cody does. And I think he does it well, but there's just no variety there. And it's kind of the same thing that we've talked about in the past with Charlotte Flair. And it's the same thing that we were really hoping Rhea Ripley was going to be able to avoid, right? Which she has, because this detour that Rhea has taken away from the main event scene with Io and the stuff with the Kabuki Warriors, that has really given Rhea some angles.
Did she take a detour from the main event scene, or did she just take the main event scene to a different belt with her?
I mean, look, that right there is the Becky Lynch effect. That's what I was talking about before, right? There's a difference between being in the main event scene and being the main event. I think Becky is a great example of what a WWE superstar really looks like. Rhea is another great example. She stepped away from the main event picture, but she's still the main event. Rhea lost nothing by being in the tag team division for as long as she was with Io. Neither did Io. She lost nothing, right? Becky lost nothing going into the Intercontinental Championship scene, right? Mid-card, that's where that belt sits solidly, right? She lost nothing. As a matter of fact, her being there elevated that division, because we see the difference between where the Women's Intercontinental Championship is currently within its standing and where the Women's U.S. Championship is. Because they don't have any real superstars over there in that Women's U.S. Championship division vying for that title. And so you just don't get that same effect, right? The tag team championships are on the Women's Tag Team Championships are on Raw currently, because Rhea and Io just lost them to Nia and Lash Legend.
Yes.
So look at that right there, right? You've got a tag team with Nia Jax. Now, you feel how you want to feel about Nia Jax. I know I do, but I'm not too ridiculous to say that Nia Jax is not a bona fide star, right? I know she's a bona fide star, and she's spent many time in the main event picture. She loses nothing from being in this tag team division. She loses nothing from partnering with Lash Legend. She only helps to elevate her, right? And when you've got faces like Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Nia Jax, all in the women's tag team division, not to mention Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss were also there, right? You're stacking the women's tag team division. You're elevating the value of those titles by those people being present there. Charlotte's another great example. She's been solidly in the mid-card. She is not in the main event currently. She's not even in title contention right now. Last time we saw Charlotte, excuse me, she was eating at least 3 pints of Haagen-Dazs, right?
Yes, I'm so glad we're getting back to the Charlotte Flair stuff we said, or at least I said I wanted, is that just these little character things. You can do more and be more interesting in these, in just showing and expounding upon the character than you can going out there and wrestling a 15-minute match.
I agree.
And I'm glad we're getting back to that.
I agree. And listen, love Cody. I think as a person, I genuinely like Cody. And I don't even dislike Cody Rhodes, the character. Like, I really don't. I just feel like Cody is so one-dimensional with his character. And it never arcs. It never changes. It never evolves. And I think it just gets to the point where it's the same shtick every week. And when it gets that way, it just becomes a bit monotonous. I love pizza, dog. I love pizza, tacos, sushi, top 3 for me, right? I can eat pizza quite a bit, but I did not have pizza with my coworkers earlier this week when they ordered it, right? Because I knew I was going to have a lot of pizza on Saturday. I didn't want it to become monotonous and me not enjoy it the way I wanted to. And that's how I feel with Cody.
You describing it like that, it explains the disconnect for me. Because I would just get the pizza twice.
Listen.
So there you go.
I think, but here's the thing with Cody. Cody is like pizza on Thursday.
Yeah.
Pizza on Friday.
Hell yeah.
Pizza on Saturday.
Yeah.
Pizza on Monday.
Yeah.
Pizza next Friday.
Yeah.
Look, those years are starting to get a little bit less exuberant. And I think it's because deep down, you know, as much as you love pizza, if you never got any variety on your plate, if it was always just pizza, that's the only thing you got. And it was always pepperoni. It was always exactly the same, right? When you get it sparingly, it tastes better. It always is good. Cody is a good character. The Cody Rhodes character is a good character. I just wish that we could get Cody with some flavor angles to him. The same way we've done with Charlotte, the same way we've done with Rhea. The same way we've done with Becky. Why can't we get that with Cody? Why does Cody have to be the same bland milk toast every single episode? Like, that's what gets me. That's the only thing that gets me with it. It's the same thing that plagued Cena. It's the same thing that plagued Cena for years. It's just the same Cena over and over and over and over again. And it's not that Cena wasn't great, but it's just like, dude, when you play this hit over and over and over again, there ain't but so many times, as much as I love Hotel California, I love that song. Genuinely. There's ain't but so many times you can play Hotel California on repeat where I'm going to be like, hey man, turn it off.
Yeah, but that's also a good example because, yeah, you may feel that way if you watched a live stream of every single Eagles concert, you'd be like, here they go playing Hotel California again. That crowd, there's a reason they're going to play Hotel California every single night, and the people are going to lose their shit.
Okay.
Because that's what it is.
I love this analogy, and I think it works perfect, right? And I get the point you're making. But what we have to remember, and I don't think that you forgot about this at all, but I think the point that has to be made here, though, is you're talking about the in-person crowd versus the viewer. I am more akin to, if we're just want to use like live audiences, I'm more akin to an NXT crowd goer than the crowd goer in each city that they go to each week, right? Yeah. They're going to pop for Hotel California every time the Eagles play while they're on tour. You know what I'm saying? But if the Eagles were doing a residency, and not at Vegas where you have like these rotating crowds of people who come through Vegas all the time to see the shows, but like it was just a random pub in Milwaukee, right? And they were doing the same song every week. The first few times it would be great, right? But the captive audience that is the viewer, like the captive audience that would be the people in the smaller suburb of Milwaukee who go to this pub every week would be like, dude, you're the Eagles. You have other hits. Like, can you play a different song? And I just wish Cody would play a different song. Like, just do something else. I know you can. I know you're capable, right? Don't dig into your Stardust days. Please don't. I don't want you to go back to dashing Cody Rhodes. I don't want you to put on the plastic mask either. I'm speaking to that because I know you have depth. I know you have range, right? I wish you would just try something different. The only thing we've gotten is babyface Cody Rhodes and doofus babyface Cody Rhodes. And they're both just Cody Rhodes. Like, I don't know. I genuinely do not think that I am the only person who feels that way. And
You're not. But I want you to remember, Cody was also being heelish and cheating. And then you were asking, why was Cody cheating? He was trying to do something different. And you were on here saying, why is Cody cheating?
Wait, do you think that was him doing something different?
A little bit, yeah.
Really?
No, not really.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't doing anything different. Like, he was just being Cody. He's being Cody, the guy who I'm like, I get why you cheer for him. I get why I cheer for him. I pop like no one's business at 40. That was a great story. That was a great culmination to a story. It was so well told, right? And the culmination of Cody losing on night 1 and then beating Roman on night 2, man, there's nothing freaking like it. And I think he played that role excellent. I feel like the heel stuff he does sometimes, I feel like it's heelish. If somebody on commentary, I'm not asking for you to build a whole storyline around this, Skeeter, but if Wade Barrett, who is my new favorite color commentator, if Wade Barrett were to just call that out every so often, you know what I'm saying? Like when Cody picks up a cheap win, if he would just call it every so often, just be like, that was kind of foul the way he snuck in there and stole that pin or something, then I could be like, okay, we're not necessarily writing this story for him, but we're laying down the breadcrumbs for headcanon, right? That if you touched on it later on, you could make these beats make sense. But as it currently stands, it's like, Cody's a good guy. Because I love him as a good guy, I'm going to ignore the fact that he just cheated. I'm going to ignore the fact that he just took advantage. I'm going to ignore the fact that he's doing all these things. It's not part of his story. It's just fans with rose-colored neck tattoo-shaped stars in their eyes and, allowing it to just pass. But he's going to end up in the main event because it's going to be a fatal 4-way. I, like you, would genuinely hope that Randy wins that title. If he doesn't, and if Cody were to win, the only way I would find that acceptable, brother, is if that leads to Cody versus Randy at SummerSlam.
Cody is not winning that title back at WrestleMania.
Hey,
it's not happening.
I'm with that.
It's not happening.
So it's either going to be Jacob Drew retaining or Randy winning.
I don't think it's Jacob. I think either Drew retains or Randy wins.
Got you. Hey, look, none of that are bad outcomes in my opinion. The only bad outcome would be if Mr. One Codith Rhodes were to win that championship.
I just don't see that right now. I don't think it's leading that way. I don't think we're doing it to go back. I don't think we've done all this with Drew, who finally won the title on a SmackDown, just to give it back to Cody.
I don't disagree. So I'm with you there 1,000%, man. So we got 2 more matches on Elimination Chamber. We have the Women's Intercontinental Championship match, which I spoke on briefly before. Becky Lynch drops the Intercontinental Championship to AJ Lee, to the surprise of some. I genuinely wanted AJ to win, but there was a argument to be made, legitimately, that AJ lose here and pick up the IC Championship in a rematch at WrestleMania.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
But seemingly maybe going the other way. I think we'll get back to Becky and AJ. I can't imagine we're done. We didn't see or hear from Becky on this episode of Raw, and we're seemingly setting up, or not seemingly, we are setting up another number 1 contender for AJ in the meantime. She came out and gave her promo about wanting to be a fighting champion. I think that was, for me, that was one of her better promos.
I was literally about to ask you, how do you think that landed?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's me. I don't think any of the AJ in the ring talking promos have, honestly, I think they've all had their flaws. Maybe my expectations are too high, but like none of them have I been like blown away. They haven't been bad, but at times all of them, they kind of seem to have low points or silence where there shouldn't be. I don't know if that's her being rusty or what, but I thought it was fine. It sets up, she's doing the babyface fighting champion shtick. I thought Becky was going to come out and attack her there.
Yeah.
But no, we're setting up. We've got a 6-woman gauntlet match on Raw for the number 1 contendership to AJ's Women's Intercontinental title. So We'll see where that goes. We'll see if that match happens, if Becky ruins it, if Becky ruins the title match, who knows? But I think we're both in agreement that we're getting back to Becky and AJ.
Oh, absolutely.
For WrestleMania.
Absolutely. And I don't know what form that takes, but Becky's going to be back in that scene and challenging for that title come WrestleMania. I will say, man, and I'm trying to be as honest as I can here. I think some of my umbrance with the AJ Lee promos may be nostalgia. It may be member berries for me, right? Like, I was a huge fan of AJ Lee back in the day. And part of me has a version of her locked in my brain. And when she comes to the ring, there's a part of me that still pops nostalgically. But there's also a part of me that does not actually remember what that frame of reference actually is. Like, I don't remember what
I'm
those
with you
promos
100%.
were. You know what I mean?
I'm with you 100%.
So when I hear her,
I'm wondering, like you, am I remembering her better than she was, and this is what it was?
it was a different division back then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the business was different. And that's not me saying, and I don't think Skeens saying this either, folks, that AJ Lee does not have it on the mic. What I'm saying is the competition was different back then, and I don't really remember what AJ Lee was like on the mic back then. I know that back then she seemed leaps and bounds ahead of everyone that was in the ring with her. And I just thought that everything that she was doing with Ziggler and Big E, I thought that run with her and that crew was awesome. Obviously, the stuff that she did with Daniel Bryan was awesome, but I can't recall a ton of moments from that run with Daniel Bryan. I can't remember a ton of moments with Big E and Dolph. I just remember that it was awesome when I was in it. And there may have been a bias that was being had by me because nostalgically, I love AJ Lee. And I think in a bubble, it's awesome to have her back. It's great seeing her in the ring. And she can still legitimately go. That's one of the reasons why I love professional wrestling, because it's a universal language. And you don't have to speak English. You don't have to speak at all. You just go in there and you wrestle good. You don't do a bad match and people will connect. And she's able to do that. And still at a high level, because Becky Lynch is one of the best. So she's able to do it. But when she gets on the microphone, sometimes I feel like the promos are kind of time locked. Like they feel like they belong in an era of women's wrestling that doesn't exist anymore. And I don't know if I'm being too critical in that way, because I feel like it to a certain extent. But at the same time, I can't override what I am feeling, which is not like I'm watching a promo and I'm like, oh my gosh, this sucks. But I'm watching it and I'm just like, it was a promo.
No, I'm right there with you. They've been fine, but they haven't blown me away. And I don't know if it's because now she's playing less of a character and she's not doing the drawn up or the played up, crazy girl shtick she did the first time when she really got over, and she hasn't found that groove, or maybe it's just not hitting the same way for both of us, that she's more herself than she is the character. And I think maybe the promos are suffering again with the caveats you said. It's not like they're bad, but I'm with you there. They aren't. It's been a lot of 7.5 out of 10s for me. I haven't
agree.
had a 10 out of 10 yet.
I do. I totally agree. And I think this is one of those situations to kind of sum it up for me is it just takes reps. Like you need more reps on the mic.
I thought she was demonstrably better in this match against Becky than she looked
absolutely.
at WrestlePalooza.
She looked so much more lucid and fluid in the ring this go round. And you can tell, I said this on the live stream, that you can tell it seems like she's been spending the off time in the ring. And you can tell because she just feels more lucid and fluid in the ring. And it shows. And I think that's great. I think that when it comes to her on the microphone, though, there is a bit of contemporary presence that is missing from her promos. Something about it feels nostalgic in a way that doesn't fit as snugly as I would like. And that may just be a symptom of us older heads, right? Not being inclined and in tune with the way things are flowing currently in the landscape, right? When you stay away from something long enough, you tend to lose the vernacular. You tend to not particularly catch on to speech patterns and what's in and what words are hip and what words are You know what I'm saying? Like you just fall out of all of that rhythm. And so when you get back in it, sometimes you can kind of sound your age and you can sound like you're not in that space of what is current. And in wrestling, it's less necessarily about lingo and it's more about like the delivery, the cadence, how these things are kind of pushed forward, the timing.
That's what I said. It seems like there's silence and low parts where there shouldn't be.
Agreed.
Like, and things like that. Like there's pauses and silence where it seems like it's a pause and maybe she's waiting for the reaction, but the reaction's not coming there. It was before. It's just there's something slightly off about it for me. Yeah. So I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think she, shout out to the boys over at Triple R. But I genuinely think she needs to shake off the ring rust of her promos and her voice the way she's done in the ring. I think for as much time as she spent outside of WWE cameras shaking that ring rust off of her in-ring game, she needs to do that as well with her promos. And, I'm not entirely sure how you do that other than getting more reps. You got to be on TV more, ma'am. Like, you know what I mean? You got to be on TV more. You got to be in front of crowds more. You got to have that mic in your hand more so that you're more fluid, that you're more lucid with it the same way you are now in the ring. And it's just, I'm waiting for those two things to connect. My only concern is that we're not going to have time for those two things to connect because I don't know if I'm in the camp of believing that AJ Lee is going to be on the main roster actively in a way that is any different than how Brie Bella currently is or how Nikki Bella currently is.
Yeah, we haven't seen them for weeks after they announced they were coming for those titles. Then
we have not. We have not. And listen, before Brie came back, when Nikki was back, I called out old boy on Stevie Richards' podcast because he made an incorrect statement about Nikki's motivations. And the reason why I called out those motivations is because if you look at the records, Nikki only really wrestled X amount of matches in like 4 months' time. It was like on average a match a month, right? So she is in a more frequent television schedule currently than AJ Lee is. And she's being put on a higher pedestal than Nikki Bella is. So you've got the spotlight on you, but you don't have the reps that are needed to get in front of people on that microphone and really make people buy in and believe, right? And a lot of that heavy lifting was done by Becky. And so I don't know. It seems like in her winning the title here, that sets up either a one-on-one rematch with Becky at Mania, or Becky somehow finds her way into this 6-person spot. Becky ends up cheating to win, and Becky challenges her again at Mania, takes the title off of her, and then we don't see AJ. Like that to me, just what it feels like. I don't know anything for sure. I'm not in the writer's room, though sometimes I claim to be. I'm not. And so that's just what it feels like to me. If it went the way you thought it was going to go, Skeena, which I also agreed with, which is Becky beats her tonight, right? Or Becky beats her at Elimination Chamber. And then they run it back at Mania, and then AJ picks it up there. I could at least see AJ being with us through SummerSlam. But I never thought that it was going to be like a long run like her husband. I never thought it was going to be like that, and I still don't. I still don't think she's back like that full time. And if we get her, I think it's going to be for a limited time only. And it really depends on when you start that limited time offer. And I think that you started it here, which means it goes through Mania next 6 weeks. And then we may see a little bit of AJ after that, and then we don't see her anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan is. Obviously, the result of that Mania match will determine a whole lot. But yeah, we've got time to figure it out. We'll see how we get there. I have faith that at least with Becky involved, it's going to be really good at a baseline. And if AJ shakes off a little bit of that rust, it could be incredible. But yeah, we'll see. Her AJ's timeline and how long she sticks around after WrestleMania are going to be interesting to kind of see.
Agreed. Very much agreed. And we won't know because this is not one of those things that WWE just comes out and states. They've never done that, and I doubt they ever will. And they shouldn't. They've got to sell tickets, and you don't want to truncate how long you're going to be able to get fans to show up for AJ Lee if you tell them, hey, her last date is you know what I'm saying, June, whatever. But I mean, look, shout out to AJ though. She's got the title. I would just love to see AJ on screen every week. Shouldn't you have to wrestle every week? But if you're on screen every week, you've got that title, you know, do your thing, make your presence known, get your reps in. And then when you get back in the ring, I think those two things will start to come a little more in line. But it doesn't happen if you're not. So we got one last match on the card for Elimination Chamber, and that is Punk versus Finn for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this was a one-on-one match, no Judgment Day interference, despite the fact that at one point it looked like Finn was standing up to call for the Judgment Day, but he didn't. He fought that match straight up, and he just was not the victor on that day. Shout out to Finn. CM Punk with the freaking Chicago Bulls entrance.
Yeah, the serious entrance was awesome. When that started playing, I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. And it was. It was for him to, you know, he is a Chicago icon, and to wrestle his first match in a legendary Chicago building and get to, you know, pay homage to one of the greatest kind of sports teams, dynasties, eras, whatever you want to call it, of all time. I'm sure that was an awesome moment for him, and it was a heck of an entrance to watch.
Absolutely. And I loved his freaking ring gear. Like that was awesome. The Chicago themed ring gear was awesome. LA Knight did it a little bit too. His trunks were definitely Bulls inspired. His shoes, his ring boots were definitely Jordans inspired. But like that whole Chicago Bulls entrance was really great. And the crowd popped like no one's business for Punk. It was a great match. Honestly, it was a great match, and it was the match that had the least amount of twists and turns to it of the night. It was a pretty straight up and down singles match that Punk was the victor in. And I think the big thing coming from this match is less about who was the victor, but what this is setting up for Finn. Because Finn is definitely positioning himself and being positioned right now as the face that is going to break out of the Judgment Day and probably go heads up against a heel Dominic Mysterio. When they do this, I would love to see it at WrestleMania, but
well, Dominic is now unencumbered by WWE title championship obligations.
That daggone curse, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll get to that because that's an important part of what we got to talk about. But yeah, the Finn, look, we said it on the live stream, kind of, they were in an unenviable position in trying to hook the crowd into a match that 99.9% of the audience was fairly certain Finn Balor was not winning that match.
Right.
Because we've got a giant WrestleMania main event that hinges on CM Punk being the champion and, frankly, Finn Balor not being involved with it.
Right.
So they did the best they could. They had a great match. I think the story was more about, like you said, was Finn going to give in and call out the Judgment Day, or was he going to uphold his promise to himself that he wanted to do this by himself? And he did. Shakes Punk's hand afterwards. Looks like looks heroic in defeat. And we see a little bit of continuance with that on Raw, where in the Dominic Mysterio Penta Intercontinental title match, JD goes to help Dom beat. He's going to hand him, I think, the ring bell hammer.
Yep.
Is that what
the ring bell hammer
got? Yeah. But Finn stopped him and said, no, he wanted to do this himself. Let him do it himself. So I think we're headed towards a Finn Balor face turn, and probably a Dominic Mysterio match or feud is seemingly the direction here. But I thought the match at Elimination Chamber was good. It was never going to be blow away just because you aren't going to be able to hook people in that Finn's winning this match.
Right.
So, but I think they accomplished the best they could from it, which is further build toward this Finn face turn that is seemingly coming.
Agreed. And look, whether or not this ends with a Dominic Mysterio feud with Finn Balor, which I genuinely hope they do. But I think this is what you need to do with Finn. I think that dude genuinely deserves to have another good title run before he retires. He has been so far away from the main event title scene. Like, it's ridiculous how long it's been since Finn has been considered a top guy. And he's absolutely worthy of being a top guy. And I would love to see him back in that position. And I think Judgment Day has done wonders for him because it's added some depth and some layers to him that we can play off of in the future moving forward. And you've got some storylines that are built in here that are just going to kind of write themselves, you know, when they come to fruition. So there's one other thing on Elimination Chamber, Skeena, we have to talk about.
Yeah, the main event, some would say.
Some would say the main event. Some would say not.
And I'll let you go because you had strong feelings about it during the live stream Saturday, and I want to see if they have changed at all.
So I'm not going to bury the lead here. Some of my feelings, they haven't changed, but because the feelings that I had on Saturday were very specific. They were very specifically the same feelings that I had about WWE's presentation of talent that they're trying to debut. That has been my angst then, and it is still my angst now. I admittedly did not know anything really about Danhausen. I knew who he was, but that was to the extent. I never really watched any of his online stuff. So, you know, that whole character of him and the cursing people and all this stuff, I had no idea. I heard he was funny. I've seen the point before, but that's it. So when he debuted the way that he debuted, after weeks and weeks and weeks of fanfare around this box, I genuinely felt then, and I still feel the same way I feel about it then now, which is WWE could have done a better job of debuting him. I get it a little bit more with the fact that the character is as goofy as it is, that having a box that opens up to another box that opens up to
a coffin, a box. The coffin was in the box.
Yes, well, some would call that a pine box. And in
the coffin were, I believe, 8 to 10
multitudes.
the Danhausen baddies, the dancers. One of which was his wife, which I found out, which is kind of awesome.
That is cool.
His wife is like a dancer performer, and yeah, she was one of the ones painted up there.
I think it was. I enjoy goofy wrestling, and so it wasn't the goofiness that did not land with me. It was, why do it here in this fashion? Particularly when you've got to understand that the buildup and anticipation that you have set forth WWE is going to lend to some people being very disappointed, not necessarily with Danhausen, but with being let down, with their expectations being dropped so far. That is the thing. Yeah, I talked to my brother over the weekend, and my brother is a lay wrestling.
He's always a good barometer.
He's a good barometer because he used to really be into wrestling. He stepped away from it, and he's never really come back. He is more of a traditional sports guy, right? So with the merger of WWE with ESPN, right, the partnership they have there, he's seeing more wrestling now than he's seen in years. He's seeing the wrestlers show up on First Take, and you know what I'm saying? Seth Rollins co-hosting shows and all these things. And he loves it. He thinks it's really cool, right? And so he's seeing people on ESPN doing like play-by-play breakdowns of what could happen at Elimination Chamber. He loves his integration because he doesn't dislike professional wrestling. He just hasn't come back to it. But he also doesn't keep up. So he is a great barometer, in my opinion, for how a casual fan receives things. So, Skeena, I'm talking to him, and he talks to me about Danhausen. And what he says to me, I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not quoting him, but he says something along the lines of, I thought that it was kind of funny, but in the moment, I'm hearing about this box, and then the box opens, and this guy comes out, and I'm like, who's that? And that's the extent, you know what I'm saying, of what he said. And it just spoke to me because that's how I feel there are a lot of people who, like, nothing against Danhausen, nothing against what he's built for himself. I think it's kind of cool, right? And seeing him on Raw, it makes more sense to me. And it made sense. We were talking about it, that, look, this is going to be his role. This is going to be primarily what he does, right? And the whole cursing thing and it leading directly to Dom losing, love that. That's fun stuff. But to debut him the way that you did, knowing what the expectation was going to be, there are going to be some people who see that, and on the big stage, they see this person come out and they're kind of like, who is this person? And if you have people who are somewhat in the know, some of those more emotional wrestling fans that we were talking about before, they're really going to have their feelings wrapped into expectations. And when you have these expectations that it could be Jericho, which admittedly we had no indicator from WWE whatsoever, no indicator online that it was going to be
blind
Jericho.
Hope and us talking ourselves
just
into
blind hope and talking ourselves up, right? That we only have ourselves to blame for that disappointment. Own that. Fine. Perfect. I got that. It does not change the fact, however, that the result looked and was received the way that it was. So much so that Danhausen makes a joke about it to Adam Pearce in their backstage segment. You know, he arrived to thunderous reception.
Debut to thunderous applause and cheers.
And cheers.
Which is great. That was a good way to immediately, like, you know, I was wondering, like, how are they going to play this? Because, like, yeah, there is no denying. So on Saturday, and I've gone back and watched it again, like, there is an initial, it's not thunderous, it's not a Jericho pop, but there is a pop and cheers when he comes out of the box and people see it's Danhausen. But then when they do the little, you know, intentionally underwhelming pyro poof and the lights go out, there's the immediate boos from the people that maybe didn't know who Danhausen was and were expecting
something else,
where it's just like the what the hell was that reaction. Mm-hmm. And that's where the boos come in. And I wonder, I'm like, you know, how do they play that? But I get assuaged, at least to me, within 2 seconds of him appearing on the screen on Monday, where he just says Danhausen debuted to thunderous applause and cheers. And you're like, okay,
it works.
That's funny because it works. Because that's exactly how that character would handle that.
It makes perfect sense. Like, I've seen so little of the character, but if this is what the character is, yes, it was a good introduction. If this is what the character is, I totally understand it. I totally understand. That's the reason why I was so adamant on Saturday about how debuts matter, right? Yes, you were able to work this into something with this character that is totally on par with this character, totally in character with Danhausen, and it works. You get it. You could have done this without the chamber. If Danhausen had just showed up, like if Adam Pearce was just on the phone, take that segment, right, that happened on Monday, and Adam Pearce is on the phone talking about some vision stuff, right, and then he turns around, he gets off the phone, boom, and Danhausen just standing there like he was. Dude, I think the crowd in the stadium would have lost their mind because you're debuting him in a fashion that fits the character, right? That speaks to what the character is. And I also think you would have muted the people who booed because you're not putting them in a position where their own misguided expectations will bite them in his moment. And it's like if I was in the writer's room, I would have pitched that. I would have considered that. I would have said, hey, we need to consider the people who don't know who he is and the people who are going to have their own expectations that they may have unreasonably set for themselves, disappointed. And that's on them for sure. But how is that going to play on camera, Trips? What's that going to look like? You know what I'm saying? When they're disappointed and you get these boos. We may be able to spin it, but is that how we want to debut? You know what I'm saying? Someone, but they made they did well by leaning into what Danhausen is. That segment along with the Judgment Day. Oh, you sold me there. I was sold there. I was not sold on Saturday. I was not.
Well, I'm glad you got there because this I think is what it's going to be, which is great. Like I was already a fan, so I'm biased, but like I hope people enjoyed that segment on Monday as much as I did because that just fits everything. his list of demands after his great debut.
Yes, the
And
AAA point, because that's got to be a thing.
One of
That's
those
gotta be a
famous
thing.
ones.
Yes. What else did he want? A
Which
hot
he
air
got
balloon. He
a
wanted
blimp,
a private cameraman,
a personal assistant, personal camera
assistant.
boy,
Yep.
Hall of Fame induction this year.
This year.
Yeah,
This year.
I
Yep.
believe that was the list of demand housings.
Yep.
On
Demand
the soggy piece of paper.
Yeah, because he fell in the toilet.
And then, he leads into that interaction with Finn and Dom and JD. He's like, hello, Finn. Hello, Dom. Hello. And forgets JD's name. JD, I already don't like this guy. And Finn's like, come on, he's new here.
Yeah, he also said, I think he said, I think he's pretty nice.
Yeah. He said, I think he's nice. Well, yeah. Nice. And then we get and the first part, introduces you to the Danhausen character where he's like, oh, Cold Steve. Because he thinks Adam Pearce is Stone Cold.
Stone Cold, yeah.
And he's like, I'm Adam Pearce. He's like, glasses disguise. Got it.
Right.
I got it, yeah. And then he sees Dom's title. He's like, oh, can I have this? And Dom's like, no.
It's the closest you're going to ever get.
The closest you'll get. And he was like, and then Danhausen was like, it's pretty close, but...
Yeah, he was like, as close as you ever get. He says, this not nice to meet you.
Yep.
And not nice to meet you, and maybe you should get lost
cursed
before something bad happens to you.
Yeah.
Something bad happens to me. Well, you are cursed. Yes.
And he was. And he loses.
And listen, before we got on, I went on YouTube and I watched a compilation of YouTube WWE reactors reacting to that backstage segment. And almost every single one of the reactors said the exact same thing when Danhausen cursed Dom. And that was, oh, so he's losing the belt tonight. And every single one, and it was at least 8 to 10. And so I was like, okay, I get the gist of what this character is. And I'm not mad at it. I can see wrestlers wanting to have Danhausen in their good graces and to not upset him and to whatnot. Because if they start catching on to the fact that he's cursing people and they're losing matches, then you want to have him not curse you. Listen, it's fun. It's goofy. There are going to be some people that this does not land with at all. And that's fine.
For sure.
But, to me, this is in league with some of the greatest backstage acts, like the
and that's all it has. Yeah, that's all this has to be.
Agreed.
Occasionally he can walk to the ring and have a quote unquote match, but it's not going to be. He's not going to wrestle 20 minutes for the Intercontinental title and have a match of the year candidate, and he doesn't have to.
No, he doesn't.
You do that every week, every couple weeks, that's more than enough. And reportedly, he is already selling a ton of T-shirts.
Oh, I'm sure. That
making all the human monies for the company. And that's before they even market the jar of teeth. He gave Michael Cole his jar of teeth on Saturday.
Yeah, I am interested to see what comes of Danhausen in the WWE. I hadn't considered things like the merch, but like I said, I am very, very, very new to Danhausen. So I am learning on the fly, and I will be in the position of some of you who do not know Danhausen, and you will learn him through WWE programming along with him.
I'm going to send you, and I'll tell all the listeners to see it. He's had a YouTube channel for a long time.
I knew he did. I just never checked it out.
My favorite one is him, and The Rock ended up seeing it a couple years ago when he did it. He does a review of the Zoa energy drink. And I'm not going to spoil what happens, but he reviews one flavor and reviews the original flavor, which obviously is supposed to taste like The Rock. Because it's The Rock's energy drink, original flavor.
So I'm assuming so the Zoa energy drink is The Rock's energy drink.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yes, and Danhausen did a review of it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm super excited for the things he did. I thought that was a fantastic debut for the character. I get you're spot on about everything Saturday. Like, there are negatives to it. To my perspective, which is obviously colored by being a fan before, is that the positives and what I enjoyed out of it over or outweigh the negatives. But I can definitely see, like, if you didn't know who Danhausen was or weren't familiar before, that was probably in hindsight not the best way to do it. I do want to address the concern that you haven't said this, and no one I've talked to has said this, but I've seen it online where it's like, oh, you dedicated all this TV time to building up this box. I went, and it pissed me off so much, I added it up. 6 minutes, a little over 6 minutes of TV time was dedicated to the box. So it's not like, yeah, it is a huge thing because it's the box, but it's not like, they spent 20 minutes every week on the box.
No, it was simply a reoccurring segment.
Yes.
It was simply a reoccurring segment. And it did well to get you invested in it. And oftentimes people don't remember things as legitimately as they think they do. You felt like it took up a lot of screen time, but it really didn't.
But it didn't. Yeah.
It really, and listen, that 6 minutes could have been given to someone else, sure, but it doesn't really matter. It's only 6 minutes. It's just the impact that it had. And I agree with you as well that if I was in the know of Danhausen prior to, I definitely feel like what transpired on Saturday would have landed very different for me. I didn't get the character. I didn't understand the character. And so it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But now that I've kind of got a little taste of what this character is going to kind of be in WWE, and to an extent, how this character is going to interact backstage, Saturday's presentation takes a different set of context around it. And it, contextually, I get it, right? And that's one of the things I always try to impress upon people. The difference between a contextual situation and the objective truth, right? Contextually, if you get Danhausen, it makes sense, right? Objectively, it fell flatter than it could have been because I think that it was that the writing staff and who put that together did not take into consideration the context that is not everybody's going to know who he is. This is not going to make sense to everyone. And I feel like you could have probably debuted him in a way that would have been a bit more palatable for those who did not get Danhausen and would have absolutely struck a chord for the people who did. But, they don't hire me to do these things. I just host this podcast with my friend talking about the things I wish they would do. But quickly on to Raw. So Seth Rollins shows up at the top of the show after the Vision show up, and Paul Heyman is running down Seth Rollins for his involvement in the Elimination Chamber. As he is doing this, masked men show up. I'm assuming it's the same masked men from the night from 2 nights prior. And despite the fact that these people apparently clearly don't work for WWE and are Seth Rollins lackeys who invaded inside the perimeters of the barrier, and they probably should have been thrown out and or blacklisted, they have returned. And they have snuck back into the arena. It makes me question everything about WWE security. But they were able to get into the ring area again. One is run off by Austin Theory. Another is chased off by Logan Paul. That leaves Paul Heyman in the ring all by his lonesome. And here comes a masked man. And he's coming right for Paul. And Paul is begging and pleading because he knows that Seth Rollins is about to walk into this ring face to face with him and put a hurting on him. Little does he know, this is also a decoy, and there is another masked man that is behind him, and this one is actually Seth Rollins. And he takes to the old Shield practice of a chair shot to the back. This is Seth Rollins' MO. It is his signature move that is followed by a curb stomp. And he indeed hits Paul with his signature chair and lands a curb stomp that bloodies up Paul Heyman. And then Seth proceeds to walk out of the ring through the entrance ramp and into the back, where we then cut to Paul Heyman being stretchered to an ambulance. He's got blood all over his face. Logan Paul and Austin Theory are acting like the most concerned, non-concerned people ever in life. And They finally get Paul Heyman into the back. Time out real quick. Tell me why everyone who goes to an ambulance and has people with them just have the most hysterical people who are just shouting over each other, climbing into the back of the ambulance. The ambulance staff has no control over the situation whatsoever. They just sit there and...
Well, there was no ambulance staff here this time, right? It was just...
I mean, who was in the back of the ambulance with him? Was it the WWE security people?
I don't think there was anyone. At the end, I think it just ended up with LA Knight driving off with Paul Heyman in the ambulance.
I think somebody was in the back of the ambulance with him. It looked like two people who looked like they were ambulance staff, which also then begs the question.
Who are they? Are they accomplices to LA Knight?
You took the words right out of my mouth, sir.
He peeled off in that ambulance. I thought he was gonna wreck that ambulance. Or tip it over.
Did you see the guy who jumped out of the way?
No, I did not.
There was a guy in a yellow shirt all the way in the back when he peels out toward the left wall who kind of jumps out of the way. And I'm like, hey, brother, listen.
Yeah, when he went up the little ramp, I thought he was going to clip the side. Yeah.
Yes, I thought he was going to clip the side too. And he didn't. But this guy in a yellow shirt, long sleeve shirt, jumps out of the way. And I'm like, hey, you want to kill your push really quick? Hit someone with the ambulance in a backstage segment. That's a quick way to not get pushed. But yeah, so Seth Rollins is apparently not medically cleared, quote unquote.
That is what was said.
But he's definitely he's definitely healthy enough to deliver curb stomps.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think people don't really. He's probably medically cleared and not storyline medically cleared because he's not out there doing curb stomps without it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Seth Rollins is going to be involved in some kind of match at WrestleMania because the dude is cleared. He's back. And we just have to see how this story is going to evolve without the rest of the division present if they're actually injured. Not saying they're not, but I don't know at this point. I don't know what to believe, WWE. If you've been pulling the wool over my eyes, consider me legally blind. Because I have no idea what it is that you're doing here with Division and where this goes. But we have a match between Dragon Lee and Gunther. Nothing really much to talk about here. Just more Dragon Lee being pissed at Gunther.
I thought that was good, but that doesn't really for what we like to talk about. That didn't really do a whole lot story character development. We just same stuff. We're just building Gunther further as this despicable man that would pull off Dragon Lee's mask and tap him out and then say that's what you get, told you so.
Yep. I will say this though. I did not realize that prior to his move to WWE, Dragon Lee used to be one of the versions of Mystico.
I had no idea.
I did not know that until yesterday. I have been really in this bag of learning about the history of Lucha Libre. And I went across this documentary about the history of mask in Lucha Libre and how people will lose mask and how generations of masked characters are born, right? Your mains, your seniors, your juniors, your sons of, etc. Right. And one of the sections they were talking about involved one of the ways in which duplicates are created. And that is through contractual situations, companies owning the likeness of a character. And the example that they gave was about the three Mysticos. And I had no idea. I've been buying luchador masks lately. And I've been looking at a lot of them online, and I see a bunch of them that remind me of Sin Cara's mask. The design is very similar, but there are little differences to them, right? And the names that are with them are certainly different. There's some that are Mystico. There's some that are Mizikaz. There are some that are Callisto. Is there one that's Callisto?
Caristico?
Yes, Caristico.
Are we just talking about so Mystico, aka original Sin Cara Azul? Yeah, he's been Mystico, Caristico when he went back after Sin Cara. Then he was Mystiziz for a while.
Yes.
When I watched my one AAA event, he was Mystiziz. So yeah, There's been a lot.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I guess the original guy who was Mystico could not claim the name Mystico because I believe AAA had their own wrestler named Mystico. This was the Mystico that ended up becoming Sin Cara.
Yes.
Right? So eventually, Mystico goes to the WWE. He becomes Sin Cara. The original Mystico, I think he becomes like Hunico. He wrestles.
So Hunico was who became Sin Cara. He was Sin Cara.
He was the second Sin Cara.
The black Sin Cara that then became the only Sin Cara in WWE.
Right. So that's the thing. So he was actually the original Mystico. He was the very first Mystico.
Yes.
But he couldn't claim the name.
Yeah, I sort of know like a little bit of it, but yeah.
Yes, so he couldn't claim the name. So then apparently when Mystico 2, we'll call him Mystico 2, which is the person who became Sin Cara. Mystico 2 goes to WWE.
Mystico 1 became Sin Cara 2.
Exactly, right? And he was actually Hunico when he first came to WWE, yes. Right? So at the time,
riding on the back of the bike with Camacho.
Yes, exactly. So at that time, AAA did not have a Mystico, right? But they wanted to have a Mystico. So the third Mystico is the wrestler who is now Dragon Lee.
Yes.
He was Mystico there, and then he eventually comes to WWE. Mystico 2 goes back to AAA, and Mystico 3 becomes Dragon Lee. I did not know that before yesterday. I was so confused. And there have been so many different names that have been used because characters have been owned by one person, and then there's two of them at the same time. One of them loses a mask. They get a different name. It was so confusing, but it's been so interesting, so freaking fun. And it gave me a different respect for Dragon Lee. Not that I didn't respect him, but like Mystico is such a big name in Lucha Libre. And I did not realize he was a part of that lineage, right? And I just learned so much about wrestlers who have come over here from AAA and have been in the lineage of some major names in Lucha Libre wrestling. And they've come to WWE and they've taken on other names. And they kind of get lost in the sauce in WWE. Like something with Kalisto too. Like, I can't remember. He was somebody else as well. I think he was one of the Parkas. I believe he was one of the Parkas. One of the mini Parkas. But yes, we had that match there. Sorry about your little Lucha Libre segment there, guys. But I'm genuinely entrenched in this. I love it right now. I'm diving deep into the rabbit holes.
I think so. Yeah, I think really the only big thing we got to cover is the main event segment between Roman and CM Punk. We get our tribal chief coming back. One of his, I think we've got 4 more appearances after this. So he'll be there 4 more shows before WrestleMania. But yeah, we get another promo segment between them. And if last time was Roman's time to get the shot in and drop the mic with the "I hate you," I think this is they let CM Punk get the shot in. And you said you had some thoughts about it. So I'll just let you go. I'm
wondering if this is out of gas already.
No,
you say that, but I'm listening to this promo on Monday, and if this was Punk's mic drop moment like Roman had, I was sorely disappointed. I thought that Punk's promo was just fine. And I thought that the way he ended it with like burying him like his dead dad, it sounded like such a like 1996 playground insult that hurt someone's feelings. And if you're right there before the bully, you're going to laugh or you're going to go, oh, but the crowd was flat. They were flat AF on that line. And I think it was very indicative. If you look at the audience, my mentality, my MO is to look at the fans. And when the fans react a certain way, they are a litmus for what the general audience thinks. Because I think that the fan base that goes to these shows are made up of a lot of different types of fans. Hardcore fans, lay fans, it's something to do, it's fun, it's in town. You want to take your kids, but you're less interested than your kids are, right? This is not the audience of wrestlers that used to come around during the Monday Night Wars. It's also not the type of wrestlers who are just the super hardcores everywhere, right? I think that line did not land the way he might have hoped that it would have. For me, Skeener, I am interested in watching this match because I think that it's going to be a good match. And I think that there's still enough time and still the potential there to really ramp this up. But I'm going to tell you, man, this makes me really feel the lack of Roman in these things. Like, he's not here. When people are not here to play their part in these feud buildups, you really, really, really put the weight on the other person's shoulders to carry this thing forward.
Which, to be fair, CM Punk referenced.
Yeah, he did. He did. And
but I think, well, Roman's going to be here more now. I mean, in storyline, Punk had to get through Elimination Chamber, and now the match can build. So
I get it, but here's my thing, dude. And this is something that I kind of confronted last night too. Mark Madness, right? Roman Reigns got into the Final Four. I think in that bracket, Roman beat out some people he shouldn't have. Because if you're talking about,
it was not his best year because he was not around.
But that's Roman in general. Like, if that is the criteria for him not having his best year, he should never make the Final Four because the dude's not around. It's not fair to people who have been. That was my thing. I was playing that Mark Madness straight. Are you looking at the bracket?
Yeah, I am. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
He beat some people who I genuinely think he shouldn't have. And Ilya Dragunov should have never gotten as far as he did. But that was somebody's agenda.
That
was somebody's agenda.
I'd have had thoughts on that for sure.
So that was literally somebody's agenda because somebody was like, at the end of it, they were like, okay, so now that the agenda's up. And then Ilya went away. But I don't think Roman, sometimes I feel like the people who really love Roman will cover for the fact that he's not here. I think whenever Roman is here, I love it. I think it's great. I have not had a negative thing to say about Roman and his promos, his presence, his matches, or anything like that. None at all.
2025 was a very light year for him. But I think planned and deserved to be as such.
So hearkening back to a statement that you made about people deserving things.
This is different. We're talking about deserving time off versus deserving and a fake wrestling accomplishment.
What makes Roman more deserving of time off than Seth Rollins?
2020 through 2020.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I call cap.
Yes.
I call cap on that because crazy. You cannot say that because you had one of the greatest storylines in the last decade that warrants you to be able to not be here. Look, why don't you just not be here? Why don't you just not be here under the same premise that everybody else who has not been here when they were at their prime were? Cena was not here because he went off to do Hollywood stuff. Okay? The Rock wasn't here because he went off to do Hollywood stuff, right? Nobody said that The Rock deserved all this time away from wrestling because The Rock was the pillar with Stone Cold Steve Austin through the entire Attitude Era and carried an entire generation on his back. Nobody said that about John Cena and the fact that he gets to step away and it's cool because John Cena is the face that runs the place and was the biggest figure in wrestling since Hogan. Nobody said that, but you only give that to Roman Reigns.
That's because the Lariat Lounge didn't exist for me to say it back then.
I don't think that anybody who was on that call last night, who was doing Mark Madness, who did the same thing for Roman, did any of those things for Cena and did any of those things for The Rock. The criticism was always there. And listen, I'm not saying that people don't have the right to feel how they feel. All I'm saying is I feel personally that Roman is a great professional wrestler. I can appreciate what the bloodline story was, right? I can appreciate who Roman is to the business right now, right? But Roman's absence makes the things that he has to be a part of struggle. That is just an objective truth. When he's not here, he does not get to contribute. It feels like it just started, doesn't it?
Because it did.
Roman...
This is going back to
Roman won the Rumble.
Yes.
Okay.
Came out the next night. They had the thing. Then Punk.
This has been building since last WrestleMania.
Yeah. But Roman didn't, but there was no point to do anything before Roman wins the Rumble. He comes out, he challenges Punk, and then Punk goes off and jeopardizes that main event. So let's think about it in character, in story. Punk's going to do this dumb match. Now he wins the match, Roman's back. Roman's going to be here 4 of the next 5 shows, I think. So
yeah,
you'll have it.
They've announced his dates. You know what has faltered in Roman's absence?
Your faith in your tribal chief, apparently.
His presence. Seemingly. His presence in Jay and Jimmy's storyline.
Jay doesn't have a storyline.
Let's rewind. Let's rewind. If you recall, that storyline that was building around Jay, first of all, none of this stuff is anybody's actual fault. This is the fault of the writers. They write these stories the way that they write them. Right?
This has nothing. The Jay stuff has nothing to do with Roman. That was screwed from the beginning when I started worrying about it.
Right, but what was that? But if you recall, those tag titles, if you recall, what was happening with Roman around that time that he disappeared from the Jay story arc after Jay lost the title and he was doubting himself. Roman was there, Jay was there. We were building something. We talk about it all the time, how we hate the fact that they just fell off of a cliff, right? What was happening with Roman at that time?
I mean, that was around the War Games time, right?
I think that was around.
Or that was before. Or maybe that was before War Games and he showed back up to War Games.
Okay.
He was involved with the Vision and he lost to Bronson Reed after Jimmy and Jay kind of screwed things up, quote unquote.
Right. I feel like
didn't want to see him until Christmas.
Okay. So Roman was doing nothing.
No, Roman was going down the card and working with Bronson Reed like you want Cody to do.
So were the Usos not on the cards? Were they not on the shows? Because if Roman said he didn't want to see them until Christmas, it wasn't because Jimmy and Jay weren't competing, because Jimmy and Jay were competing.
They were not on the card when they lost with the crown jewel when Roman lost to Bronson Reed.
Right. I'm talking about weekly programming. That's where we miss Roman.
I mean, probably, but maybe not, because that's about the time they just moved Jay back to the tag team division unceremoniously.
Do you think that if your tribal chief was there and wanted to pursue this angle with his cousin, that they would have said, nope, we're just going to move him back to the tag team division?
Sure. Roman could have saved Jimmy had he wanted to, but Jay, but he already made Jay. So Jay can stand on his own.
Okay.
Jay is never a world champion if we don't do the bloodline.
This is fair, right? But what I'm saying is we cannot.
What do you want this man to do? His felon
show up to work. That's what I want him to do. Show up to work. I want him to show up to work.
The whole island eats off him. Jacob Fatu was in jail, and Roman was so good. Jacob Fatu's got a job now.
Up to work. Show up to work. When you don't show up to work, WWE decides, hey, you know what? We're just going to throw Jay back in the tag team division. Even though you had something that was interesting going here, Roman's not here to help carry this. Now, you can't say the whole island eats off of him, right? And then also, I mean, I'm not saying that that's not a statement. I'm saying you can't make that statement, right? But then also say that, oh, this was no fault of Roman's that he wasn't present here to help this storyline continue moving forward. If everybody eats off of him, right, then he's part of, if not part and parcel, the driving force behind some of these things. So if he's not there, then by proxy, it loses juice. These two things you can't have one and ignore the other. And this is not a criticism of Roman.
Yeah,
this is a criticism of Roman not being here.
Right. The issue is they didn't, for whatever reason, they didn't stick with that story or didn't build it enough to exist or have any plans for it to exist without Roman.
Yeah, that's my only...
The Jay thing, really, though, when we look back, that seems like a weird, hard pivot they made. Because they were setting breadcrumbs. And then just all of a sudden, he's like, nah, let me just go back and win the tag titles with my brother. That seems like they thought, when I say they, WWE, the writing, the booking team, whatever we want to call it, thought, this isn't working, let's pivot.
Yeah, but I also feel like that storyline with them, with Jimmy trying to get Jay's head back in the game, right, was on the tail end of what they were building between Jimmy, Jay, and Roman. Roman goes away. Jimmy and Jay move forward, winning the tag team championships, right? But there's no Roman there. And so we just stay where we're at, where the Usos are still at. They are still in the spot that they were in when Roman left. You can't, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I get it, but that's also like, that's them not being able to build the story without Roman.
Right. The writers not being able to build the story without Roman because Jimmy and Jay are not writing the story themselves.
But I don't think now Roman has to be responsible for that.
I'm not saying Roman's responsible. This is
because...
I'm not running offense against Roman. And so there's no need to run defense for Roman because I'm not running offense against him.
Some of this was some offense.
I'm saying Roman,
you got on offense a little.
When Roman's not here, the storylines that he is a part of suffer. That's where I started from. The thing with Punk is that I believe this has suffered because of Roman's absence. I think if Roman was here, this would be better. Because he's not, it's not as good. And I think that if this is what CM Punk was supposed to be doing here, this was his get back from Roman's first promo, I think that it kind of falls flat. I think it kind of fell flat. I think that the punchline didn't really land. That last shot about his dad seemed like a low blow that was unnecessary. It wasn't even like a, ooh, gotcha moment. It was just kind of like, why'd you say that? And it just did not work, right? Yeah, we're going to have Roman here now. And I think that we'll be able to pick this up and it'll build, right? But man, like, where are we going to go? Where are we going to go to build this? I have faith in WWE's writing team. I have faith in Punk. I have faith in Roman. But right now, I don't know where this is going to go. I am not someone who just has blind optimism for the tribal chief. I'm just not. And it's not me. That doesn't mean that I don't.
That's where you're just wrong.
What? That blind? I'm wrong for not having blind optimism?
In your tribal chief, yes.
That's crazy talk. Well, that is crazy talk. That is crazy
hasn't
talk.
Steered me wrong yet.
Listen, this is
He has not steered me wrong yet.
It is so interesting to see all the people who just have unfettered faith in Roman Reigns, and these are the same people who did not like the big dog, who did not like the big dog, who hated the big dog.
I loved the big dog. So that's
listen. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not talking about you. But there are definitely some people out there who were not fans of Roman Reigns, the big dog, that were not fans of This Is My Yard, Roman Reigns, right? And then they weren't really fans of Roman Reigns when he initially came back in the Thunderdome era, when he first came back. But once the Bloodline started, these were also the same people who were just like, oh my gosh, Roman is still winning. How is he beating this person? How is he beating Sammy? How is he beating Kevin? How is he beating LA Knight? How is he beating Drew? How is he, But then you get to the end of the story and the shit is fucking great. And everybody's like, one's in the air, and they will never put them down for anything. And I'm not telling you to put them down. I'm not telling anybody to dislike Roman. I don't dislike Roman. All I'm saying is it is a realistic take that storylines suffer when Roman is not here. I'm just not someone who believes that you can create a coin and on one side of that coin say that Roman is the glue that binds great stories, right? And then on the flip side, ignore the opposite, which is that if he's not here, stories are not glued as tight. One has to be true if the other is.
Correct, but I don't think that's the curse of the greatness is like, yeah, the stuff he's involved in is probably some of the best stuff. And when he's not involved in stuff, it's not as good.
Sure. That is very true.
That's the curse of there only being one Roman Reigns.
Right. But here's the difference. Here's the difference in maybe our perspectives. The writers don't write Roman to be away as long as he is. That's a Roman Reigns decision. And
do we know that? I'm sure if the caveat is if Roman wanted to show up to work every week, yes, he could. But are they telling him, hey, we really need you here, and he's saying no?
Oh, I'm not saying that. That's not that, yeah. But that's a different narrative, right? You're creating a narrative
that
they're requesting him and he's saying no.
I think that may be a little the difference between The Rock. I think they're like, hey, Rock, we started this stuff with you and Travis Scott. You plan on coming back anytime soon?
Well,
He's probably like,
hold on.
No, no.
Because listen, I don't know what the situation is with that. It seemed like he was having those health concerns because he lost a lot of weight around that time when they want him to come back.
Now, Travis Scott, though. Travis Scott did do that.
Right. Well, Travis Scott did come back. Well, Travis Scott came back for a while, but then he didn't. Right. Because he was showing up minus.
Then he was just out.
Right. And then he was just out. Right. But I think that with The Rock, with Cena, and with Roman, I believe that these guys have some latitude over their contracts, right? I'm not one who, I don't like hypocrisy, right? So you can't say that someone who had such a great storyline with the bloodline deserves to have a contract established where he doesn't have to work as many dates, but then also say on the flip side, he has no control over the dates when he shows up. You can't say those two things and both of them be true.
That's fine.
So it's a choice that he works the schedule that he works.
Yes.
Right? It's a choice for him to do that. It is also then by proxy that storylines that would be more well glued together with his presence would suffer if he's not here. So if you build things storyline wise that have Roman in them, when he goes away, those storylines are going to suffer with his lack of presence.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but that's just part of it.
Right. So then it circles back around to my statement, which is, I wish the guy would show up to work. Because if he showed up to work, the stories would be glued better.
That's not going to happen. But it's just that's not going to happen.
And that's going to forever be my complaint.
We are past the days where Roman Reigns is making every town every week.
Listen, you know what? If that's the case, then you just need to book Roman like The Undertaker. You need to book Roman like The Undertaker in his latter years, right? You didn't build storylines around The Undertaker. It was just around WrestleMania. And that's when...
Is that not what we're doing?
No.
That's what we're doing.
No.
Yes, it is.
No, you build Roman into these stories tangentially through the year, even though he's not here. This storyline between him and Punk has been building since WrestleMania 41. They've been telling us. They started telling this story the Raw after Mania.
In the same way that, like, yes, Rock and Stone Cold at WrestleMania 17 was 2 years in the making, but it's not every week for those 2 years. It heats up 6 weeks before WrestleMania, which is kind of what we're doing here. I think in 3 weeks you'll feel different.
I have no doubt. That's never been in question, right? But I am also someone who lives in the here and now and sees tomorrow, right? These two things can exist at the same time. I can understand that. I have faith, like I said, in the writers. I have faith in Roman. I have faith in Punk, that they will be able to pull this together and make something that I'm really interested in. And right now, I'm looking at this promo and I'm questioning what it is you're going to come up with next, because I can't think of it, because I don't see any groundwork that is laid. These two promos that have happened, the first one, excellent. Roman landed that plane, right? This second one, not quite as much. Okay, so are we not getting into fisticuffs before Mania? Because if all we're going to do are these back and forth segments in the ring, I don't know. That thread was wearing a little thin last year. I'm not talking about just with Roman. I'm talking about the way that WWE attempts to fast build things during Mania season. If I had my way, right, they will be laying breadcrumbs for stories, right, that they're building to Mania well before January, right? So you've got things that you can reach back in the bag with and latch on to tie into your Mania build. But these things have been tangentially tied to Roman over 2025, but he hasn't been here enough to really lace these things in. If Seth Rollins had not gotten hurt, Roman wouldn't even be in this picture. He wouldn't even be in this picture. It would have been Seth versus Punk, because WWE has been telling a consistent story with Punk and Seth across the better part of 2025. They've both been here. They've both been here to write this story. And if he had never gotten hurt, all of this would have played out, but Roman wouldn't have been the person here. It would have been Seth. And so, I don't know. I don't know exactly how we square the circle otherwise, but it looks like a lost Skeeter. It may have been something with his Discord or something like that. Not sure. But the point is, I'm waiting on a text, see if Skeeter's going to text me back. But I think where I stand currently is just this idea that WWE has some work ahead of them. They have some work ahead of them in order to build out Punk versus Roman. Do I think that it's possible? Yes, I do. I think it is absolutely possible for WWE to put together a story that is going to work well, that is going to feel great. And WrestleMania has a way about bringing the energy and the excitement into the event. Now, the dwindling ticket sales is something, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people are really into this right now, but I think that there is room for things to improve. Skeens has returned.
I don't know if you saw my text. The power flickered and the power went off real quick, but yes, I am back. So
Okay. Yeah,
I believe maybe that was the tribal chief. He put a call in. He heard this. He said he got the wrong one. He should have shut you down.
No,
Yeah.
he didn't shut me down because Roman would be like, I get it. I understand.
Crazy.
At the end of the day, like I was just saying here for the listeners, at the end of the day, I have faith that the program will be pulled together. I have faith in all parties involved, both wrestlers and the writing staff, to pull together something that is, I think, really going to be fun and engaging and interesting to watch. They typically do a good job. And all the people involved are really good at what they do. Roman and Punk, right? And WrestleMania always has this tendency to bring out the best in WWE storytelling. So I have no doubt that this is going to turn out well. I'm just someone who can see the multi-side angles of the Tesseract. Like, I understand.
Whoa, what a reference.
Yeah, I love that word. But I can see many angles, and it doesn't mean that because one is true, that another is false. I think that a lot of things can be very true at the same time. And I know that we're likely not to get a 2026 where Roman, has 40 dates. Like, we're not likely to get a Roman Reigns 2026 where he has 55 dates on the calendar, right?
I get it. I had to mourn our tribal chief's, schedule. I'm there. You're at a different stage of the grief than me. That's okay.
You're at what, acceptance?
Yes, I've long since accepted that, despite the fact that I would like our tribal chief on my TV every week, it's not going to happen. And that's okay. It's okay. You'll get there. You'll get there, brother.
What stage of grief do you think I'm at? I'd love to know that. Don't say
denial and anger.
Denial. Don't say denial.
Denial and anger, I believe. We're mixed in there somewhere.
So I'm angry that the tribal chief is not showing up to work.
Yes. Seemingly, yes. You'll get there. Look, it's tough. It's tough.
I wonder, is that a stage of grief for me, or is it just anger?
It's one of the stages of grief.
Anger is indeed a stage of grief, but am I grieving? I grieving?
You are grieving. You are grieving.
Not
seeing your
everyone
tribal
who's
chief
angry
every
is
week.
Grieving. Not everyone who's angry is grieving. I'm not grieving. I am.
You are grieving, honestly, our tribal chief not being on TV weekly.
You know what? I'm not even angry. I think it just bugs me. It just bugs me because when you announce that Roman Reigns is returning, right? After the last time he returned, and he comes out and he doesn't really get into what he's saying because Punk comes out, right? And this is really Punk's turn to go here, right? Punk is the one who gave a promo who I believe 80% of the way there, I was like, I like this. But I am also a person that's like, brother, you got to stick the landing. Like, the landing matters just as much as the rest of it, right? If you don't stick the landing, the trip is for naught, right? So he didn't stick the landing. The landing did not stick. And I'm thinking back to myself, okay, why did this not land? Why did this not land? You've been able to, CM Punk, cut promo after promo after promo about Seth, that land, about Finn, that land, right? Now you're here with Roman and you can't get one that lands. And now I'm looking at, okay, well, let's look at the context of the promo, right? What is it that we've been talking about this entire time. The Shield, people leaving, people being made to feel like their journey is harder because of things that people have said on podcasts. I hate you. This is eerily similar to Punk and Seth and a lot of the same complaints. It's the reason why I postulate something like, are we out of gas? Not because we're not going to get there. Not because we're not going to get to Mania. Not that we're not going to build it and it's going to be great. But is this it? Is this all we're going to talk about the entire time? The same stuff that Punk and Seth talked about? I see Punk trying to step outside and pull something new in by bringing in, the Wild Samoans. But that didn't even land because there's no actual relevance between the two of them. It was just a personal insult, right? And I think that's why it didn't resonate with people.
Yeah, I get that. And I thought about that when it happened.
Yeah.
So I see it probably as part of the bigger story that will develop, is that Punk is going to try to get under Roman's skin and get him off his game. And I think he referenced that kind of earlier in the promo where he's like, oh, I don't let some, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it was like, I'm not going to let someone saying something on a podcast hurt my feelings.
Right.
So I think he's going out there trying to, in character at least, like hurt Roman's feelings and get him worked up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the goal here. I'm intrigued in the angle they're taking where Roman is tied so closely to the WWE machine in this promo that he's painting himself like he did the first time when he's like, who do you think they asked if it was okay if we brought you back? And now in this promo, he's saying, oh, we brought you back. Specifically, we brought you back to entertain the 30 to 40-year-old virgins living in their parents' basements.
Yeah.
And, we brought you back to sell some T-shirts and do this. And then after I'm done, we're going to send you on a retirement tour to NXT to train the next generation. So that's an angle I'm interested to see where they go, where, Roman is WWE in this storyline. He is one of the ones making the decisions, which I don't think that's really a thing. I mean, they probably did. They may have been like, hey, is it cool if we bring this guy back? He said some things about you. I'm sure Roman was like, yeah, cool. I
highly doubt that. I highly doubt they ran it by Roman or Seth. Like,
okay,
but
I don't think they ran it by as in. I don't think they ran it by as in like, hey, is this okay?
But it was probably like, hey,
heads up, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, and listen, I totally buy that, right? Because you're dealing with somebody who you may have had some personal animus with, right? Whether that is
there was personal animus.
Oh, I'm aware. But what I'm saying is whether or not the animus was turned up to 11 in the way that is portrayed in the story, we don't know.
Oh, absolutely not.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it works well for the story, right? And yeah, I think it does introduce an interesting angle that you could play at. You could tie in this idea that Roman is, oh, so you're the corporate guy now. You're the corporate stooge now. You know what I'm saying? You're the next in line from Dwayne.
I think that'll probably come into play.
You're the next Dwayne.
I think Roman brings up Larry in the next promo, because I think if he's going to go dead dad, Roman's got to go dead dog, right? Like, it's a natural evolution here. Probably. But yeah, it was not, yes, while this was great, I don't think, for me, it did not match the initial promo. But that's me saying like, okay, this was a 9 to 9.5 out of 10. And that was before was really a 10 out of 10 to me.
That's a generous rating there. I think the first one, the one where Roman kind of went off in the end, I would say that one, the way it struck me, that was certainly around like an 8.5 or a 9. That was high. That was legit sauce right there. I think this one,
tough grader, man.
This one I think was more along the lines of like a 7. Like Punk has delivered better promos against Seth.
Oh, but this can't be a 7 than the AJ Lee. You can't agree with me that that's a 7 for you.
Hold up.
Because this was way better than what his wife said.
I didn't grade AJ's promo.
Yeah, but you said, like, you agreed with my grading, sort of insinuating that it was around
I
the
understand
same
what you're
for
saying.
you.
I agree
Yeah.
with your grading in the sense that your
Yeah.
scale and my scale.
But you know where I grade, yeah.
Yes, your scale and my scale would align in like where the measurement, where the meter goes, but not necessarily how we're measuring the meter.
What the hell are we talking about?
I think AJ Lee's promo was not a 7. I think it was more like a 6.
Okay,
but I think
there
my
we go.
grading scale is harder. Even,
Whoa, it's a 6. So it's a 6 and this is a 7?
I think that Punk's promo, in comparison to his body of work, right? Yeah, I would call this a 7. He's delivered way better promos in the calendar year with Seth. Way better. Do you disagree?
No, that's true.
I'm just being honest. Like,
but I'm just now I'm taking issue with the reference, the frame of reference that this was just a tick better than the AJ Lee promo from earlier in the night.
You know what? Maybe I'm being too generous with AJ Lee because it wasn't that great.
I think you're being too harsh on CM Punk.
I don't know. I think I'm being too generous with AJ. Maybe I should give it like a
look. Sometimes Barry Bonds is going to hit a double.
Listen,
it's not going to get over the line, but it's going to be a screen, or it's not going to get over the wall, but it's going to be a screaming line drive.
That's when that's when that bat's not corked.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Now.
That's when that bat's not corked, homie.
Come on now. Put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. I'll say that.
Hey, listen, I'm not in control, and we'll see one day.
Put the GOAT in the Hall of Fame. I said it.
But look, we'll see, man. Look, Elimination Chamber has wrapped, and we are on the road to WrestleMania. So, you know, we've got the pieces.
Hopefully not in the car with LA Knight driving. Because we may not make it. May not make it.
No, yeah. That's a risky ride. That's a risky ride. I would stay very far behind that car. It just when it goes left, you go right.
Yeah.
But you know, we got the pieces on the board, and we just now have to see where WWE decides to put these pieces of the puzzle, and you know, we'll go from there, man. But Skeener, before we wrap up, what is your takeaway from this week in wrestling, from Friday Night SmackDown all the way through Elimination Chamber to Monday Night Raw?
So I was thinking about it, and you kind of hit on the exact sentiment earlier. And I almost jumped the gun and put it in there, but I said, no, I'm going to save it for when he asks me at the end of the show. And that's that sometimes you were talking earlier about how there are fans that watch this with a lot of emotion and get wrapped up.
Yes.
And it plays right into what we were just talking about. It's a good example for me. It's like, I think the takeaway or my kind of sage wisdom, if I have any, is like, man, just have fun watching this stuff. Because look, I talked for 2 weeks and for Saturday on most of the live stream up until how it happened. I'm like, look, this is LA Knight's moment. He is going to win the Elimination Chamber, and this is the time. And that obviously didn't happen. And, you know, instead of having the visceral reaction and shitting on everything and not having fun, I got to enjoy, you know, LA Knight's not going to be wrestling for his championship at WrestleMania, but I could still enjoy him showing up and driving the ambulance and being just a crazy character on Monday. And I think that's an attitude and almost a skill that is lost on some wrestling fans, is just have fun. Like, it's not all going to turn out how you want it to, how you think it's going to. But there is fun and great entertainment to be had here if that's what you want to get. So seek that, and everything will be so much better.
I hear you. So I think my takeaway for this week is patience is a virtue that does not have to be silent. Danhausen is an interesting character. There was never a part of me that did not think that he could be an asset to the program. I did not like the way he was presented. I still believe that he could be presented better. And I would hope that WWE would make some changes, though, you know, that machine is far bigger than you or I, and our voices probably don't hold the type of weight that we would like for them to do at times. But there are people, to speak about the emotional ones that we were talking about, right? There are people who were probably displaced by Danhausen's presence and his debut at the Elimination Chamber. It rubbed them the wrong way. They were likely the ones who booed. And from that day forward, they will probably not give Danhausen a chance, a shot in hell to do what it is that he does best. It is not Danhausen's fault that WWE utilized him incorrectly, nor is it Royce Key's fault that they debuted him at the Royal Rumble or that they've neglected to use him since. It's not his decision. You can feel the way you feel, because I think that I hate using the term that your feelings are valid, because it was just overly used and abused between 2024 and 2025. But your feelings are your feelings. I would just exercise, along with Skeener's, advice to try and enjoy this, is help yourself enjoy it by exercising just a modicum of patience. I've said all the things that I've said about Roman and Punk and Danhausen, how I felt about that and all these things. And yet and still, I will sit here and I will patiently wait to see what comes next, because I have faith in a company that did give me things like the Bloodline storyline, that did give me things like Rock and Austin, that did give me all of these things that I enjoy. They have built equity with me. And so I feel that you can allow two things to exist at the same time: your feelings in the moment and the ability to exercise patience. We are in the final stretch to WrestleMania. The story always builds up from here. So allow yourself a little bit of grace. Don't beat yourself up if you're one of the people that I'm talking about, or Skeener and I are talking about, and just allow yourself to breathe, relax, exercise some patience, and I guarantee you will enjoy what comes next. Because WWE, if they don't hit any other time of the year, this stretch is when they start batting 1,000. So buckle in. It's going to be fun. The pieces are on the board. Let's see what they do from here. Episode 50 is wrapping, and we have done our first video version of the podcast.
Not without a little technical difficulties, thanks to the Milwaukee power grid or whatever happened here. So.
Per usual, and depending on if I can figure out editing, they might not even see that part. Editing video with audio is a slightly different thing than just audio. So, we'll see. It's already like 7 something. So I wonder how long it's going to take me to figure this out afterwards. We're flying the seat of our pants here, people. I spent all day figuring this out, and the editing part I'm going to have to figure out after. So, but we're here, we're doing it. And so, I'm glad that you guys are able to engage with us in this way. I definitely think this visual aspect of the podcast, Skeener, is an upgrade. It just, the podcast just feels different when I can see you, I can interact with you. And I feel like the fans are going to get it in the audio format. And if you watch this, you're absolutely going to enjoy it, because I'm enjoying making it. We're enjoying doing it. And so I hope that you all embrace it, that you like it, and that it becomes a part of your everyday, weekly schedule. Skeener, please let our friends know all the places that they can get the Lariat Lounge.
The Lariat Lounge is now coming at you video, live, in color. You can see us. We're going to be coming at you once a week, every week, at the Lariat Lounge on YouTube. Search up the Lariat Lounge. You'll find us. That's where you'll find the podcast videos, old episodes where the live streams will be going up, where you can comment, send us messages, give us those nice big thumbs up, subscribe, all that jazz. You know what to do. We're still coming at you as an audio podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever else you get your shows, we'll be there. That's where you can find us. We're over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge Podcast. You know the DMs are open. You can interact with us there. We're going to be getting videos and clips from the shows up there, hopefully exploring some other social media soon. And as always, last but not least, that currently desolate inbox over at the Lariat Lounge at gmail.com. Gage is there. Cold. Gage is sitting there very lonely. So if anyone wants to join him in that inbox, please feel free at the Lariat Lounge at gmail.com.
Yes, help Gage out. Gage has been trapped in the inbox at Gmail for months now. I need somebody to rescue him. I was surprised to see him in the chat last night because I thought he had escaped, but then I looked and he's still the only one there. So I need you all to help Gage out. Join him in the void that is the Lariat Lounge at gmail.com. And I'm sure at some point, someday, somebody may rescue you. No promises, but hey, it's email. Listen, we enjoyed you guys this week, man. Come back next week where we will be talking all things WWE for each and every one of you. It's been fun, and I cannot wait to do it with you all again. From your host, Everson Godfrey, co-host Andrew Skeens, this has been episode 50 of the Lariat Lounge. Please watch yourself on the way out.